Celestial Immortal Clan. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 576, A Narrow Escape. After hearing this arrangement, Lin Changqing couldn't help but glance at Song Jung-soo, knowing that she should have some guesses about his strength. No, Song Jung-soo should have confirmed his strength through some clues, otherwise she wouldn't have chosen a most difficult goal for him. You know, the farthest and the closest are a distance of 100 or 200 feet apart. If the strength is not good, then 1 more foot is a heavenly ravine. Not to mention 100 or 200 feet more. Song Jung-soo should have almost known his strength, so there is such an arrangement. But now everyone has been through hardships together, and they have more or less a little friendship. Lin Changqing also wants them to have a chance of survival. Therefore, he didn't want to care too much about anything, and didn't refuse, which was considered to be tacitly agreeing to Song Jung-soo's arrangement. Although the remaining 4 people didn't understand why Song Jung-soo arranged Lin Changqing, who had the lowest cultivation, to complete the most difficult goal. But seeing that he didn't object, he didn't think so much, and at this time, the remaining cultivators were not in the mood to take care of others, and soon distributed the other 4 wood tooth crystals one by one. Song Jung-soo also said directly to Lin Changqing, "The one farthest to the left belongs to you, and the one farthest to the right belongs to me." Lin Changqing glanced at her and nodded in agreement. After the 6 people had clarified their goals and completed the preparations in the shortest time, Song Jung-soo gave a signal, and the 6 people rushed out together. I don't know what others did, but the moment Lin Changqing rushed out, he activated several defensive spiritual tools again. He was controlling a top-grade flying sword under his feet, and he also showed the wind and thunder wings he had just obtained. Then he used the wind and thunder escape directly. Boom, a low thunder sounded, and then the man and the sword were wrapped in a layer of lightning and rushed to the wooden tooth crystal on the far left. It was just a distance of more than 300 feet, and it rushed over in a moment, but this process was not simple. More than 3,000 second-order marching ants were mobilized by the queen ant to block them from the giant spiritual plant. You can imagine how dense it is. Just now, at a distance of several hundred feet, there were at least 40 or 50 second-level army ants that hid him. Fortunately, he had enough defensive spiritual weapons, and the second-level army ant's innate spell, Shadow Arrow, was restrained by the Thunder attribute shield. So his situation was still okay, and he rushed over smoothly. But there were also a lot of second-level army ants following him. But others were not so lucky. Just now, Lin Changqing heard screams one after another. When he picked up the spiritual wood tooth crystal that he was responsible for with a jade box, he took the time to take a look in his busy schedule, and found that the field had undergone tremendous changes. In just a short while, except for him, there were only Song Jung-soo and another great perfection cultivator in the foundation building. The remaining 3 people, Yi Chuji, were gone. Needless to say, the only end is that they will fall to the ground and be eaten clean by the first-level army ants below. And now the situation is not optimistic. In addition to Song Jung-soo approaching his target, the other cultivator with great perfection is also struggling to hold on. However, Lin Changqing is not optimistic about him, because the defensive light shield on his body is already shaky. He has not activated a new defensive spiritual weapon, so it should not be able to support it for long. But now Lin Changqing can't help him. Time is precious. He rushed directly to the closest one, a wooden tooth crystal. When the second wooden tooth crystal was in hand, he just heard a scream. Lin Changqing knew that the man must be finished. But he glanced and found that the target that the man was responsible for had also disappeared. It seems that he should have taken it off. But now the man fell down. It's a pity for a precious 4th-level treasure. This kind of wooden tooth crystal, Lin Changqing also searched through the spiritual plant master inheritance in his hand when he was free 2 days ago. There was no record of it, or other similar things. But Lin Changqing had just collected 2 pieces, and he had a rough guess about the role of the wooden tooth crystal. Because this thing contains pure wood attribute spiritual power, and the breath of life is so strong. He is very familiar with this breath. He has sensed it on the 3rd-level dragon blood fruit at the recent auction. So he initially inferred that this thing should be able to help wood attribute cultivators break through the level. But the most important function should still be to increase lifespan, and the increase in lifespan is estimated to be quite a lot. Otherwise, Lin Changqing would not have spent so much effort to get the wood tooth crystal after eliminating so many difficulties and obstacles. On the other side, Song Jiangsu finally collected her target, but her situation did not look good. Now there are only 2 wood tooth crystals left on the giant spiritual plant, but the Queen Ant should have been deeply aware of the crisis. All the remaining first and second level marching ants are all boiling. All the second level marching ants are divided into 2 groups, desperately rushing towards Lin Changqing and Song Jiangsu. In fact, at this time, Lin Changqing really hopes that the second level shocking cicada can work. Unfortunately, facing such a large group of creatures, especially those controlled by a leader, they have a certain ability. That is, they can unite a huge number of weak spiritual consciousness in the group, and the Queen Ant will control them uniformly to resist mental attacks. After all, a Queen Ant has to control all the marching ants. It is conceivable how powerful her own mental power is. In addition, she has united the power of her own group, so mental attacks will definitely not have much effect on them. Moreover, he only has more than 100 shocking cicadas in his hand, which can't be defeated by such an exaggerated number of marching ants. That's why he has never released the shocking cicadas. But at this time, both of them knew that this was the most critical moment, and success or failure depended on this. So they were very conscious and each person was responsible for one target. At this time, attacking the marching ants was meaningless. So both of them were hard-pressed against the attacks of the second-level marching ants, constantly activating new defensive spiritual tools, just to get all the wood tooth crystals down. Anyway, from the time he rushed out to now, Lin Changqing has damaged 5 top-grade defensive spiritual tools. This was the result of him occasionally activating the Thunder Shield, otherwise the consumption would have been even greater. However, no matter how difficult it was, Lin Changqing finally made it through, and successfully picked the 3rd wood tooth crystal into the jade box. Chapter 577 Regret and Reluctance. At this time, Song Jiangsu is still halfway to the last wood fang crystal. According to Lin Changqing's estimation, he should not be able to reach it. Song Jiangsu also understood his situation, so he anxiously asked Lin Changqing for help. Dao Zhang. Save me, I will report to you later. Therefore, after hearing this, Lin Changqing had to go over no matter what, whether it was to pick up the last 4th order wood fang crystal or for the so-called report. Fortunately, the positions of the last 2 wood fang crystals were still relatively close. At this time, the Queen Ant had already felt that life and death were at this moment, so she was completely crazy. Recklessly driving the second-order marching ants to rush towards the 2 people, Lin Changqing was hit again and 2 top-grade defensive spiritual tools were blown up. Finally, he seized the opportunity and cut off the last wood fang crystal with a flying sword. That's right. He didn't have time to pick it, so he cut it down with a flying sword. Just after the last wood fang crystal left the giant spiritual plant, the atmosphere in the entire secret space seemed to pause for a moment. Including all the first and second order marching ants, they also paused for a breath, that is, the time of this breath. The leaves of the huge spiritual plant, which was originally huge and several hundred feet high, quickly changed from green to yellow, and finally to gray. Then the whole spiritual plant began to wither from the very tip of the branch. In just a very short time, the whole spiritual plant turned into ashes and dissipated in the cave space. Then the entire secret space began to vibrate violently. And at this time, Song Jiangsu finally killed to the side of Lin Changqing. But now she is in a very bad state, with at least a dozen wounds on her body, and her white dress is basically red. When she came in front of Lin Changqing, she was already shaky and almost couldn't support her body. It can be said that her condition was extremely bad. Lin Changqing instantly judged that in her current state, she could not grasp the slim chance of survival. Still a little reluctant in his heart, he said, "Believe me, you still have a chance of survival. If you don't believe me, you'll have to pray for good luck." Song Jiangsu didn't hesitate at all, and said directly, "Okay. I believe you." Time was pressing. Lin Changqing was no longer polite, and said directly, "Give me all the space equipment on your body, and then you enter my spirit beast bag." Without saying a word, Song Jiangsu immediately handed over the 2 storage bags on his body, a spirit beast bracelet, and the Xianji palace that was reduced to the size of a fist to Lin Changqing. Then he relaxed his whole body and was put into the spirit beast bag by Lin Changqing. But just because of this delay, the entire space has undergone huge changes. Originally, because there were giant spirit plants suppressing this area, the space was relatively stable. At least in the past 2 or 3 days, they didn't encounter any space cracks in this area. But now the situation is very different. Without the spirit objects that suppress the entire space, the entire secret realm is collapsing rapidly. Lin Changqing didn't know what was happening outside, but now the entire cave space was full of dense space cracks. Don't ask him why he knew it. Just look at the many army ants around that were suddenly split in two and you will know. He didn't dare to delay and immediately took out the Great Void Transfer token, activated it directly, and shrunk the entire transparent light cover, protecting himself perfectly inside. He also communicated with Lin Changqing and asked it to help open the space barrier of this secret realm. Unexpectedly, it was this operation that caused the entire space to collapse directly. And before Lin Changqing could react, he was rolled into a huge space crack. All this was so fast that it was unimaginable. Lin Changqing didn't react at all, and Lin Changqing had disappeared. But fortunately, it was also a space creature, and immediately rushed into the space crack that was about to close. And just after they all disappeared, because of the collapse of the secret space, the sand and rocks that originally constituted the secret realm were transmitted disorderly to unknown places in the universe by the distorted space force. This phenomenon even affected the normal world of cultivation, but the scope was relatively small. The clearest feeling was the valley where Zhongjing was now, which was where Lin Changqing and the other 500 people entered the secret space. Countless space cracks suddenly appeared in the whole valley, and Zhongjing was almost split in two by accident. Fortunately, he reacted quickly and only suffered a little flesh wound in the end. He would be fine if he went back to find a place to recuperate for a while. But this was not what he cared about. With so many space cracks suddenly appearing, he knew that the entire secret space must have completely collapsed. He was going to look around to see if there were any monks who had returned. All his hopes were pinned on them. So he ignored the danger and began to search within 100 miles with this valley as the origin. Unfortunately, in the end, he only found one monk, and the upper body above the chest. Most of the remaining torso was gone. It should have been split in two by the power of space, and the remaining half, I don't know which space it fell into. After working so hard for so long and spending so much effort, it turned out to be a waste of time in the end. Now Zhongjing didn't know what kind of mood he was in. But in the end, he still didn't give up and decided to go back to the valley in the future and continue to wait for a while. He hoped that some of the escaped fish that were teleported far away would come back to find him to fulfill his promise. Unfortunately, no one showed up. As for Lin Changqing, since he was caught on the huge space crack, he knew that things were in trouble. He could only try his best to maintain the Great Void Transfer token, and the whole person was in the space crack, turning over and over again. Until he could no longer support it and fainted completely. His last thought at that time was that it was over, and he was dead this time. I don't know if my family and the two Taoist companions will be too sad after knowing it. With extreme regret and unwillingness, he completely lost consciousness. At this time, Chen Ziya, who was far away in Jian Mountain, also found something wrong. All the second-level purple crystal scorpions that Lin Changqing left behind to protect her seemed to have been severely injured, and all were dying. This scene scared Chen Ziya, and she instantly thought of something very bad. The whole person's heart was in so much pain that it seemed to be broken, and he almost fainted. Fortunately, Huyana and the others came to visit at that time and discovered Chen Ziya's abnormality at the first time. Then he reported it to Cheng Zifeng's uncle on duty, and finally alarmed the great-grandmother. Chapter 578 Awakening Golden Pearl Island. I don't know how long it took. Lin Changqing regained his weak consciousness. When he could barely open his eyes, he saw an arched boat about 5 feet away from him. In addition, he heard the waves and the sound of oars paddling, so he judged that he was on a small boat. But he was too tired, and now his body was in pain everywhere, as if he had been trampled by dozens of demon bulls. So after a short period of wakefulness, he knew that he was not in danger for the time being, and he couldn't stand it, so he fainted again. I don't know how long it took. He regained consciousness after smelling the smell of Chinese medicine. He barely opened his eyes and saw a beautiful girl of 16 or 17 years old with slightly wheat-colored skin. She took a bowl of medicine and came to him. At this time, the girl saw that the person she rescued from the sea finally woke up, and happily said to Lin Changqing. But Lin Changqing didn't understand it at all. It seemed to be a very remote local dialect, and the pronunciation was too strange, which made him confused. But these are not the most important. The most important thing is that Lin Changqing found that if he moved his body now, his whole body would be in unbearable pain. This made him feel bad, so he quickly concentrated and began to check inside. Only after seeing this did he know that there was no mana in Danshan, and this was not the most important thing. The important thing is that there are more than a dozen meridians in the body, which have been greatly damaged due to overload use and space cracks. Although it may be because he is a physical cultivator, not all of them are broken, but they are also seriously damaged. It is necessary to use mana to warm it up, or use spiritual medicine to treat it. In short, it is not allowed to call up a large amount of mana in a short period of time. The worst case of meridians being completely broken and atrophied did not occur, which is already a blessing in disguise. There are also the 98 thunder acupoints that have been opened in the body, which have not been damaged, but there is no thunder mana in them either. The two kinds of mana in the body were injected into the Great Void Transfer token by him to maintain the transparent light cover, which gave him a glimmer of life. After having a general understanding of his own body, he quickly began to communicate with Lin Changqing through the covenant of life and death, but no matter how he tried, there was no response at all. The light spot in the sea of consciousness was also extremely dim, as if it was about to go out. After trying many times, Lin Changqing knew that he and Lin Changqing were separated. The only good news is that neither of them has fallen. I believe that one day, Lin Changqing will return to his side again. The most important thing now is to get well soon, at least to be able to stand up, not like now, can only lie in bed. At this time, the beautiful girl brought a middle-aged man with dark skin over, and the middle-aged man also said a lot of gibberish to Lin Changqing. But Lin Changqing really couldn't understand it. Lin Changqing could only thank them for saving him and asked where this place was, but the girl and the middle-aged man also couldn't understand what he said. The two sides didn't speak the same language and couldn't communicate at all. In the end, the middle-aged man helped Lin Changqing up, and then the girl fed him medicine. Lin Changqing knew that he had drunk this medicine many times and had no problems, so he drank it without any worries. After he finished drinking the medicine, they left. The little girl was a little reluctant, but was still pulled away by the middle-aged man. Lin Changqing had time to look around the environment he was in and found that he was in a mud house. There were simple beams on the roof, and on top of the beams was something similar to thatch. The whole room was not too big. Apart from the kang where he was lying, there was no decent furniture around. Coupled with the thin spiritual energy around, he had a rough guess about the environment he was in. He should be wandering in the secular world now. This is good, the danger will be lower, otherwise, with his current appearance, even the most ordinary cultivator can kill him. He looked at himself again, wearing an ordinary coarse linen cloth, and it was not so fitted, and his original robes were gone. This made him very uneasy, because now that Lin Changqing and he were separated, the inner space could not be used. If his storage bag, spirit beast bag and spirit beast bracelet were lost, he would be in real trouble. It can be said that he would be left with nothing, and he would be back to the time before liberation. But now his whole body hurts when he moves, and he can't speak. So he has no way to ask the father and daughter if they saw anything else on him when they rescued him. He can't do anything now, his meridians are damaged, and it's not the time to practice, so he can only stare at the roof and a daze for a long time. At this time, the father and daughter walked in with a middle-aged man in a long gown and a peaceful face. Then the middle-aged man looked at Lin Changqing and said, "I am Fang Yiming, the teacher in the village. I don't know what this little brother is called. Is he from that island? Can you understand what I say?" Lin Changqing was overjoyed when he heard this. Finally, someone who could communicate with him came, so he quickly replied, "Hello, Mr. Fang. I can understand what you say. My name is Zhang Dejin. I came to Zuanayan Island. I should have been rescued by them, right? And may I ask where this place is? Why can't I understand what they say?" The middle-aged man heard this and asked a little puzzled, "Where's Zuanayan Island? Why haven't I heard of it?" "That's right, you were rescued by Old Man Fang's family. They rescued you at sea. This is Old Man Fang and his daughter Fang Xiaoli. We are now in Jinsu Island, the southernmost island of the Thousand Islands. It is famous for its abundant golden pearls. That's why it's called Jinsu Island. What they say is a local dialect that is only used by people on hundreds of nearby islands. So it's normal that you don't understand. The people here rarely leave this area in their lifetime, so few of them learn the official language we use now. Hearing the middle-aged man's explanation, Lin Changqing nodded repeatedly. He made up Zuanayan Island randomly, so he had to say a place at random. Then he asked Feng Yiwu to help convey his gratitude to the father and daughter of the Fang family. Old man Fang didn't have anything to say. After listening, he just smiled honestly and nodded to Lin Changqing. Chapter 579, One Spirit Beast Bracelet Left. Feng Xiaoli was different. After listening, she smiled and was obviously very happy. However, the two sides did not speak the same language, and there was no way to communicate deeply. So the main thing was that Lin Changqing was communicating with Feng Yiwu. He felt that he was a teacher and should know more. So Lin Changqing hoped to get some useful information from him so that he could know where he was stranded. Through a series of exchanges, Lin Changqing kept asking questions and confirmed one thing. In fact, when he woke up for the second time, he was already a little mentally prepared and knew that he might not be in Zuanayan continent. However, through the communication with Feng Yiwu just now, he knew that the situation might be worse than he expected. He might even have left the original plane and drifted to an unknown world, which also explained why he lost contact with Lin Changqing. Because Feng Yiwu said that in his cognition, including the records in all books, it is said that the world they are in is very large, and it can be said to be endless and huge to the extreme. But there are very few land and islands, and most of the remaining are endless seas. After understanding his situation, Lin Changqing was at a loss to the extreme. He didn't know if he could return to Qingyuan Cape or Zuanayan continent again in his lifetime without Lin Changliu's help, and whether he could see his family and his two Taoist companions again. After this conversation, Lin Changqing stayed in the Fang family to recuperate, and Feng Xiaoli usually took care of him. And in order to be able to communicate with Lin Changqing, she actually went to Feng Yiwu and learned the language used by Lin Changqing and others. And for some reason, she improved very quickly. At the beginning, the two could only communicate one word at a time, but after more than a month, she could express continuous meanings. Usually, as long as their family did not go out to sea to fish or go out to collect gold beads, Feng Xiaoli liked to stay with Lin Changqing the most. So the two were the most familiar, and Lin Changqing had already asked clearly. He was indeed found and rescued by the Fang family on the sea. At that time, their family thought he was dead. And when he was found, his clothes were tattered and basically torn into strips, and there were many wounds of different sizes on his body. The Fang family did not find anything on him, except for a bracelet on his hand. Because the style was very beautiful, Feng Xiaoli kept the bracelet first. Now that Lin Changqing asked, Feng Xiaoli took out the things and returned them to Lin Changqing. When he got the Spirit Beast bracelet, he breathed a sigh of relief. Inside the Spirit Beast bracelet were his spirit insects and spirit beasts, which were the foundation of his survival here. Fortunately, the Spirit Beast bracelet was on his hand at the time. If it was placed in his arms, it would definitely disappear as well. This time he lost a lot of things, all the storage bags on his body, and the Spirit Beast bag that concealed the Spirit Beast bracelet were gone. The loss was really huge. And Song Jungsu was in that Spirit Beast bag, including the things she gave to Lin Changqing, and no one knew where they were left in the corner of space. And the big void transfer token that protected him also disappeared. But he believed that the teleportation token must have entered this world with him, otherwise, he would definitely not be able to appear here. What made him most fortunate was that he left the Zuinun heavy water bottle in the inner space, otherwise it would definitely be lost this time. Now he has no commonly used spiritual tools on him, including the Moan Dao, and no elixir or spiritual stone. So Lin Changqing also asked Feng Xiaoli where he was found and remembered that location firmly in his mind. He planned to go to that area to look for it when he was almost recovered. Although he knew that this action was really like looking for a needle in a haystack, he still had to see if he could find anything. At least his connection with the teleportation token was still relatively deep, and if the distance was relatively close, he should be able to sense it. Fortunately, he still has this Spirit Beast bracelet left, so he is not left with nothing. And most importantly, he usually puts some more important things in the Spirit Beast bracelet. For example, the rations for the purple crystal scorpion and the god-shocking cicada, some red fruits and red fruit wine, 2 purple palace twinksung pills, and 2 or 3 magic weapon embryos. In addition, the 4 wood tooth crystals that Lin Changqing had fought hard to get in the secret space were also placed in the Spirit Beast bracelet. With these things in the Spirit Beast bracelet, he has the confidence to make a comeback. After recuperating in the Feng family for this period of time, Lin Changqing's body has finally recovered. After all, he is also a second-level physical cultivator. After this period of recuperation, the torture he suffered in the space crack has been basically recovered, and his movements are completely unimpeded. However, because of the injuries to more than a dozen meridians, there is still no mana in his Danshan, and the same is true for the Thunder Acupoint. He plans to let the meridians rest for a while before starting to practice. There are many important things in the Spirit Beast bracelet, but there is no commonly used elixir. However, there is also something in the Spirit Beast bracelet that should be used for healing. That is the wood tooth crystal, but its grade is too high. Lin Changqing is afraid that it will burst his fragile meridians, so he has never dared to use it. During the time of recuperation, he has been thinking about where he should go in the future. When he was in Qinghai Unjiao and Zuanayan continent before, all his efforts, in addition to himself, are more for his family and Taoist partners. Of course, he will give back to his family when he can. Now he is stranded in this world, and he doesn't know if he can return to his original world. So he has to think clearly about how he should go in the future. In fact, in general, there are only two ways in front of Lin Changqing. The first way is to wait until he is fully recovered and become an unrestrained casual cultivator. That way, needless to say, he can do whatever he wants freely. But now without the support of Lin Changqing in the inner space, his achievements in the future should not be that high, not to mention that he is helpless as a casual cultivator. The second way is to find a way to join a large sect. In this way, you can make use of the sect's resources and also look up some things that you are eager to know. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 580, Pressure. And relying on the sect, maybe he can go further in the future. Of course, if he can really join the sect, then he can be regarded as having some roots in this world. But the disadvantage is also obvious, that is, he will be constrained by the sect, not so free, and there may be some things that he can't help. According to previous experience, if you join a sect, you must complete at least one sect mission every year. There are many kinds of sect missions, such as alchemy, refining, planting, picking, and going out to find spiritual objects, or garrisoning islands. Now there is a cultivator stationed on Jinsu Island where Lin Changqing is, but his cultivation is not high, and he is only at the 7th level of key refining. So during this period of time, Lin Changqing did not release Chui and Chuer. By the way, Chuer was injured in the secret realm last time, but the vitality of the spirit beasts is very strong. Chuer has basically recovered, and he can fully recover as long as the lost small section of wings grows out. Now Lin Changqing has no magic power at all. He doesn't want others to notice him, and he doesn't want to cause trouble. So until now, he has not contacted the monk stationed on the island. He's going to wait until he at least recovers his foundation building cultivation, and then meet that person to learn about the situation in the cultivation world here. At that time, he will decide which path he should take based on what he has learned. And the family of Old Man Feng has become familiar with him over the past period of time. They are all very simple fishermen. In addition to Old Man Feng and Fang Xiaoli, there are also Old Man Feng's wife and his two sons, who are all Fang Xiaoli's brothers. The room where Lin Changqing lives belongs to Fang Xiaoli's eldest brother. Now he's thinking about how to repay their family. Lin Changqing has seen that none of their family members have spiritual roots, so he can't guide them into the path of cultivation. But if he just gives them some money and property, it seems not sincere enough, and he feels bad. In addition, he has clearly felt that Fang Xiaoli has a little interest in him, but in this regard, Lin Changqing can't respond to her feelings. After all, there is a difference between immortals and mortals. If the two of them were really together, it would be a tragedy for Lin Changqing. If he had no accidents, he could at least live for a few hundred more years. And Fang Xiaoli couldn't practice, so she could only live to be 100 years old. Lin Changqing really didn't want to see her die in front of him. Just let her live an ordinary life. This is the happiness that ordinary people should have. So when he was with her, he acted very calmly, just because he didn't want to give her too many fantasies. In this way, another month and a half passed. He had been in this place for nearly 3 months. At this time, His meridians had only recovered 30% to 40%. Only then did he dare to try to practice a little, and he didn't dare to practice for too long, just about an hour. Because the spiritual energy around was too thin, so thin that it was not suitable for practice, and he didn't have any spiritual stones or elixirs. So he could only rely on spiritual objects. Fortunately, he still had Hugo wine, but even so, he only dared to refine it a little bit, just for a fear of damaging the meridians. Most of the refined mana was used to nourish the dozens of damaged meridians, and a small part was deposited in the danchan to be used as a precaution. 3 months later, Lin Changqing finally recovered. On this day, he had recovered all his strength. However, for Feng Xiaoli, this was not necessarily news. After more than half a year of getting along, the two of them were able to communicate completely barrier-free. Every time the two of them stayed together, it was her happiest time. But in the past few months, she has been able to feel Lin Changqing's extraordinariness more and more clearly. Although he has never shown any means in front of them, she just felt it and had a rough guess in her heart. After all, although their place is remote, there are also immortal masters stationed on the island, and of course they know the existence of immortal cultivators. So during this period of time, she was not so happy, and always had a feeling that Lin Changqing would leave her at any time. That night, after everyone fell asleep peacefully, Lin Changqing quietly left the Feng family and flew to the hill several hundred meters high in the center of Jinsu Island. The cave of the monk stationed on Jinsu Island is on this hill, and there is a first-level defensive magic circle outside. However, it is nothing to Lin Changqing. He did not come here to make enemies this time, but he still needs the help of the other party. So Lin Changqing just touched the magic circle lightly and regularly, and then waited outside the magic circle, showing enough patience and kindness. Sure enough, after a while, there was movement in the magic circle. The person who came should have noticed his foundation building strength and was hesitating. Lin Changqing directly let go of himself, and all his momentum and spiritual pressure instantly enveloped the entire hill. Then he said lightly, "My friend, this first-level defensive array is really nothing in my opinion. If I want to kill you, I believe I can break the array with one strike. But I came here not to cause trouble, but to ask you some questions and exchange some spiritual objects with you. I promise that you will not suffer any loss. Don't worry, open the array and let me in, or you can come out for an interview." The resident monk inside, after hearing this, waited for a while, and then directly closed the array, and the whole person appeared in front of Lin Changqing. Then he said respectfully, "Junior Wandao sect disciple, Shui Chengdong greets the senior. Please go to the cave to have tea." Lin Changqing nodded. It was the first time he heard the surname Shui, but for a cultivator, there was nothing strange about it. The two went to the cave together and sat opposite each other in a relatively spacious hall. Then Shui Chengdong began to take out the tea set to prepare tea. But he was stopped by Lin Changqing. After all, his coming this time was a bit presumptuous, and it could even be said that he had a bit of a sense of pressure. Besides, it was the first time for him to meet Shui Chengdong, so he decided not to drink his tea, lest he get into trouble if something went wrong. He said directly, "I won't drink the spiritual tea, but tell me about the distribution of forces in the cultivation world in this area, and the information about the Wandao sect you mentioned." Shui Chengdong was very surprised when he heard it. And then he realized that the foundation building cultivator in front of him should not be from their area. He couldn't help but tremble, wondering if he would be silenced in the end. Chapter 581 Xianshu Sect. Lin Changqing seemed to know what he was thinking. He glanced at him and continued, "Don't worry. I'm not an evil cultivator and I won't kill innocent people at will. I'm indeed not from your area. Because of a space crack, I drifted to your place and was rescued by a fisherman's family from Fangjia village on this island. But I won't stay here for long and I need to find a way to go back. So, I'll need you to help take care of their home in the future. I will reward you for this, as long as you swear to the heavenly Dao and not disclose any information about me." After hearing this, Shui Chengdong felt a little more relieved and roughly organized his words in his mind. Then he said, "As far as I know, the biggest force in this area is the super big sect, Xianshu sect. The jurisdiction of Xianshu sect can be said to be trillions of miles, and it has at least thousands of medium and large forces under its jurisdiction. The area we are in now is called Wandao Domain. The biggest force is Wandao sect, but Wandao sect is also a subsidiary force of Xianshu sect. Usually, we have to pay tribute to Xianshu sect on time, and we have to accept the call of Xianshu sect in wartime. After speaking, he glanced at Lin Changqing. After finding that he had no special expression, he continued to say, the predecessor of Wandao sect was called Wandao Alliance, which was a relatively loose organization of casual cultivators. But more than 500 years ago, some changes occurred, and finally it officially became a sect and changed its name to Wandao sect. The headquarters is in this area, on the largest island, Hangshan Island. There is a fifth order spiritual vein on the island, which is the best holy place for cultivation in this area. Hearing this, Lin Changqing nodded, and he had a general understanding of the big forces here. So he continued to ask, where's the nearest market from here? Do you have a sea chart to go there? Shui Chengdong quickly replied, the nearest market is on Changlong Island. I happen to have a sea chart of hundreds of nearby islands, and Changlong Island is on it. Senior will know where it is at a glance. After saying that, he took out a jade slip from his storage bag and respectfully presented it to Lin Changqing. He picked it up and checked it directly. He soon found the location of Jinshu Island and Changlong Island, and found that the distance between the two was about 16,000 miles. At his flying speed, he could reach there in about 5 or 6 days, so there would be no big problem. Lin Changqing glanced at Shui Chengdong and asked, how long will it take for your mission to guard Jinshu Island to expire? Shui Chengdong smiled bitterly, and then said, I was in the sect and offended someone I shouldn't have offended. In order to seek refuge, I took the initiative to accept this garrison mission. The garrison time for each mission is 10 years. And I took it 3 times, so I need to stay here for another 21 years. When Lin Changqing heard this, he looked him up and down with a smile. Then he wiped the spirit beast bracelet, took out 200-year-old red fruits, and threw them directly to Shui Chengdong. Then he said, I hope you don't lie to me. This is a 100-year-old red fruit. After taking one, it should be able to increase your strength by 1 level. One of them is the reward for you to help me take care of the Fang family. The other one is a buy half get free deal. You only need to give me 1,000 low-grade spirit stones, which is the reward for you to answer my questions. When Shui Chengdong heard this, he was very surprised. Such a precious spirit object could fall into his hands. He knew that he was lucky. So he quickly took out 1,000 low-grade spirit stones and handed them directly to Lin Changqing. Then he smiled and said, thank you for your care and reward, Senior. Please rest assured, I will take good care of their family. At least while I am here, I will ensure that nothing will happen to them. Lin Changqing nodded and continued, very good. Then you tell the people below tomorrow. Build a yard for each of the 2 sons and 1 daughter of Fang Liaotao in Fangjia village. Then marry a virtuous wife to each of Fang Liaotao's 2 sons. Take care of their Fang family more often and don't let others bully them. If you complete the task and leave here in the future, the task of taking care of them will be over. There is no need to ask the successor to take special care of them, just let them live peacefully like this. In addition, I will leave them a token. If they come to you with my token and can help you, you can help them. That's about it. When Shui Chengdong heard it, it was just such a simple matter, and it was not a problem at all, so he agreed to it again and again. And very cleverly, he made a very poisonous oath to the heaven in front of Lin Changqing, promising not to leak any information about him. In this way, Lin Changqing left the cave and returned to the Fang family. When he thought that he was about to leave, so he also used his magic power to clear the bodies of all the people in the Fang family, ensuring that they could live to 100 years old without illness or disaster. The next morning, he felt a violent fluctuation of spiritual energy on the hill. He immediately understood that it should be Shui Chengdong who took the 100-year-old Zhu fruit to advance. But he didn't care too much about this. Now he has fully recovered and is ready to go to Changlong Island to take a look, but before that, Lin Changqing has 2 things to do. The first thing is to say goodbye to the people of the Fang family. After all, he is his savior and has taken care of him for so long, so he can't leave without saying goodbye, so he invited all the people in the Fang family. Then he told them his identity as a cultivator and told them all about his arrangements last night. Others didn't have any problem, they were just ecstatic after knowing his identity and arrangements. But Fang Xiali couldn't control her tears at this time. She knew that Lin Changqing arranged these things because he was going to leave here, but she couldn't do anything. Lin Changqing looked at the little girl who had taken care of him for several months, and he was very reluctant in his heart. He was not a ruthless person. But there was no way. Lin Changqing didn't dare to leave her any expectations, otherwise it might really delay her life. So, He just left a jade pendant with his magic mark on their family as a token, and then he cruelly controlled a gale thunder sword and left. The second thing was that he had to go to the sea area where the Fang family saved him to take a look. If other things were lost, they would be lost. But the Great Void Transfer token was a very precious treasure, and this time he was able to survive, and he also relied on this treasure. So, even if it was only a 1 in 10,000 chance, Lin Changqing had to go and look for it. Chapter 582 Nothing Gained. Fortunately, the Fang family were just ordinary mortals. They couldn't go too far to fish or collect pearls. They could only make a living in an area of 70 to 80 miles away from Jinsu Island. So it only took him a while to find the place that Fang Xiaoli told him. The depth of this sea area is not deep, about 20 to 30 feet deep. Lin Changqing took that place as the origin and dived to the bottom of the sea to search. He searched the area within a radius of 100 miles 2 or 3 times. In addition to seeing various corals and shell pearls, there were also a small number of low-level fish monsters that were not very aggressive. Only a few first-level spiritual herbs were found, and nothing else was found. Lin Changqing, who was unwilling to give up, expanded the scope of his search. He spent about half a month here and searched the area within a radius of hundreds of miles, but in the end he found nothing. For such a result, Lin Changqing could only accept it helplessly. After all, he couldn't waste all his time here. So after confirming the direction, he released Shuai and flew to the location of Changlong Island on it. It was the first time for him to travel a long distance on the sea by himself. At first, he still felt it was very spectacular and vast. After all, the boundless sea and the sea-sky landscape were still very attractive, which made people feel broad-minded, but it was just like that after seeing it too much. The most troublesome thing was that he lost a lot of things, resulting in him not even having a spiritual boat. So every day at dusk, he had to look for a place to stay. Sometimes he was lucky and could find 1 or 2 small isolated islands, but most of the time, he could only rest on the reefs exposed above the water. Therefore, Lin Changqing decided that no matter what, after arriving at the market, he must get a spiritual boat with him, otherwise it would be too inconvenient. Fortunately, 5 days have passed, and normally, he should be able to reach Changlong Island today. Sure enough, after flying for more than an hour, he had already encountered 2 or 3 groups of key refining cultivators. However, when those little guys saw that his mount was a second-level spiritual beast, they knew that it must be a Foundation establishment cultivator. So they didn't dare to approach, but all avoided him from a distance, probably because they were afraid of bumping into him and being dealt with by him. Lin Changqing didn't care. He originally wanted to find someone to confirm it again, but now it seems that it's not necessary. And he couldn't take the initiative to rob them. Now that he knew the direction of his flight, he didn't make any more trouble. So he communicated with Shuai and asked it to speed up and continue on the road. After that, he met more monks, including those in the key refining stage and the Foundation establishment stage. Finally, after Xiangwu, he saw a very huge island, and he knew in his heart that this should be Changlong Island. Jinsu Island is only 50 or 60 miles in size, and this Changlong Island feels that it covers an area of no less than 500 or 600 miles. And most importantly, when he came here, Lin Changqing could clearly feel that the spiritual energy nearby was richer than other places. Then it means that there should be spiritual veins on this island, but he hasn't been on the island yet, so he doesn't know what level of spiritual veins it is. He accelerated and approached. In the sky, he could see that there were some towns and villages scattered on the island. Many ordinary people can be seen working in the fields, proving that there should be a large number of mortals on this island. Based on his experience, he flew to the place with the most concentrated spiritual energy, and sure enough, in the center of the island, he found a magic array with a large coverage area. However, with his experience, it is easy to distinguish that this is a shielding magic array to prevent ordinary people from breaking in at will. To pass through this shielding magic array, you only need to cover the surface of your body with spiritual energy, and you can enter and exit at will. There are such magic arrays on the periphery of many market towns. However, since he has found a place, he doesn't want to be so high profile, so before passing through the shielding magic array, he first puts Shuai back into the spirit beast bracelet. Then he mobilized some mana and covered it on the surface of his body, and then he easily passed through the shielding magic array. What came into view was a tall city wall. This was the first time he saw such a large building in this world. Following the city wall, He found the entrance to the market town, and saw that it was written on it, the south gate of Changlong Market Town, and he knew that he had not found the wrong place. There were 2 key cultivating cultivators guarding the door. Lin Changqing went over and spent a low-grade spirit stone to apply for the entrance and exit certificate of the market. Then he went in directly. After entering the Changlong market, he felt the difference between the inside and the outside. The spiritual energy here is more than 10 times richer than outside. This place should have at least one spiritual vein of the second level upper grade or above, which can satisfy ordinary foundation building cultivators to settle down and practice here. According to Shui Chengdong, there is only this market among the hundreds of islands nearby. I think there should be a lot of cultivators in the market. But now, the most important thing for Lin Changqing is to find a place and get some spirit stones. Otherwise, he can't buy anything decent with the remaining more than 900 low-grade spirit stones. So he started to wander around in the market. In fact, the main purpose is to look for a shop similar to the gambling stone shop. It took more than an hour to walk through the whole market, and then I found that the layout of the Changlong market was quite regular. 2 main roads, one vertical and one horizontal, divide the market into 4 areas, east, west, south and north. There are shops on both sides of the main roads. In the 4 areas, there are courtyards of different sizes. There should be many courtyards that can be rented. But Lin Changqing walked all over the market and didn't find any gambling stone shops or similar shops. He didn't know if there was such a business as gambling stones in this world. Since he couldn't find a way to get spiritual stones quickly, he thought he should think carefully about his future plans. At least he should find a way to earn spiritual stones for himself quickly and stably. Considering his own situation, it would be difficult to see results in the short term, not to mention the spiritual plant master. He only knows 1 or 2 kinds of pill recipes for alchemy. So he can only be regarded as the lowest level alchemist. Besides, whether it is possible to find a large number of basic spiritual medicines for refining key gathering pills in this world is still an unknown. So the path of alchemy should not be feasible in a short time. Besides, for a low-level alchemist, it would be good enough if he could not make a loss. It should be impossible to earn a large amount of spirit stones in a short period of time. Chapter 583 Temporary Residence in Shimlong. Then the only thing left was to go out and hunt monsters, and use the materials on them to exchange for spirit stones. This was the most immediate method. But this aspect was not small. He was not familiar with this place, and he didn't even know where there were monsters suitable for him to hunt. So it was really difficult at the beginning. He had no foundation at all, so he could only come little by little. Therefore, he decided not to wander around for the time being, and just find a courtyard here and rent it. He stayed here for a while, at least to get enough spirit stones, and then consider the next place to go. After making up his mind, he didn't waste time and began to look for a courtyard to rent. Fortunately, he soon found a small courtyard with 2 entrances in the South District, covering an area of about 2 acres. In addition, 2 ordinary peach trees were planted in the yard, growing lushly and feeling very energetic. The most important thing is that the whole yard was clean and tidy, so Lin Changqing liked it at first sight. After some negotiations with the landlord, he finally rented the whole yard at the price of 50 spirit stones per month. This price is much cheaper than staying in a hotel outside, but for ordinary cultivators, this price is not cheap. Now he has few spiritual stones in his hand, and he can't waste them casually. He went to the grocery store he saw just now and spent 10 spiritual stones to buy some daily necessities. In this way, Lin Changqing settled down temporarily in Changlong Market. After settling down, he thought that he didn't have many spiritual stones in his hand, so he had to go outside to explore the market while it was still early. He first found a place and had a spiritual meal with sea characteristics, and then he found the Lingbao Pavilion. This is the largest shop in Changlong Market that he noticed just now, and it is very likely to be the property of one Dao sect. Finding this kind of shop can definitely help you understand the price level of this world the fastest. When stepping into the Lingbao Pavilion, Lin Changqing did not hide his aura, so the shop assistant inside immediately greeted him with a smile on his face. Then he said, "Welcome to our Lingbao Pavilion, please go to the private room on the 2nd floor for tea." Lin Changqing didn't say anything, just nodded, followed the waiter and sat in a private room on the 2nd floor. After someone served the spiritual tea, the shop assistant continued to ask, "Senior, what do you need?" After Lin Changqing took a sip of the spiritual tea, he said lightly, Do you have any elixirs suitable for increasing cultivation in the early or middle stages of foundation building? When the shop assistant heard this, he quickly replied, yes, there are spiritual enhancement pills in the early stage of foundation building, and spiritual enhancement pills in the middle stage. These are top-grade pills personally refined by the alchemists of our Wandao sect, and the quality is absolutely guaranteed. Among them, each spiritual enhancement pill costs 120 spirit stones, each spiritual enhancement pill costs 300 spirit stones, and each bottle contains 10 pills. If you buy a lot at one time, the price can be a little cheaper. When Lin Changqing heard this, he frowned slightly. The price is not too different from that of Zuanian continent, but I don't know what the effect is. But the problem was that he didn't have enough spiritual stones to buy a few second-level pills, so he asked again, this pill is a bit expensive. Do you have second-level spiritual boats here? Give me a brief introduction. The shop assistant was a little confused. He didn't know why he just asked about pills and now suddenly jumped to spiritual weapons. But no matter what the customer asked, he must try his best to answer what he knew. So he replied, the price of the elixir is set by the pavilion. Although it is indeed a little more expensive than outside, at least the quality is guaranteed. We have 3 types of second-level spirit boats here, each with its own characteristics and a large price difference. The first is the second-level inferior wind boat. The characteristics of this spirit boat are that the boat is slender and the speed is very fast. But it can only carry a maximum of 3 monks, and its defense is relatively poor. The price is only 6,000 lower-grade spirit stones. The second is the second-level medium-grade storm boat. The characteristics of this spirit boat are that the boat is solid and has strong defense. And the individual is relatively large, it can carry 12 monks at a time, and even if they squeeze together, it is no problem to transport 20 people. But the disadvantage is that the speed is relatively slow. Although it is a second-level medium-grade spirit boat, its speed is still faster than the second-level inferior spirit boat. It costs 10,000 lower-grade spirit stones. The last one is the second-level superior cloud-piercing boat, which combines the advantages of the previous 2 and has basically no obvious disadvantages, but the price has also reached 20,000 lower-grade spirit stones. There are only 3 types. I wonder which kind of spiritual boat do you like, Senior? Lin Changqing thought about it. After all, the purpose of buying a spiritual boat is to use it as a foothold. In this case, it seems that the second-order storm boat, which is relatively large, is more suitable for his actual requirements. In addition, he usually travels on the first and second days of the first month, and he can also fly a sword or use wind and thunder wings, so the first and third types are not considered. So he said, let's take the second-order medium-quality storm boat you mentioned. But I don't have many spiritual stones on hand. I wonder if you will accept the second-order spiritual fruit that can improve my cultivation. When the shop assistant heard that there was such a good thing, he smiled and said, accept it. Definitely accept it. I'll go get you a storm boat, and by the way, ask the expert in the pavilion to come over and take a look at it for you to evaluate the price of the spiritual fruit in your hand. After that, he left the box quickly. After a while, the shop assistant came back with a middle-aged foundation building cultivator. Then he said to Lin Changqing, Senior, this is Zhao's Hangayan from our Lingbao pavilion. Lin Changqing nodded at him. He knew that the person who came must be this Hangayan from Lingbao pavilion without any introduction. So he put 600-year-old Zhu fruits on the table. The middle-aged cultivator also nodded to Lin Changqing and said nothing. He picked up 100-year-old Zhu fruit and studied it, and then took all 6 on the table and checked them. Finally, he said to Lin Changqing, these second-level spiritual fruits of Daoyao should be rare 100-year-old Zhu fruits. I wonder where Daoyao found them. Lin Changqing couldn't help frowning when he heard him ask this. He looked at him and said, do you need to explain the origin of the things when you come to Lingbao Pavilion to sell spiritual fruits? The middle-aged cultivator hurriedly explained, No. Daoyao, you misunderstood. I didn't mean anything else. In fact, what I want to ask is whether Daoyao are interested in selling the Zhu fruit tree together. Our Lingbao Pavilion can buy it at a high price. Chapter 584, Really Don't Understand, Fake Don't Understand. When Lin Changqing heard this, he finally understood that this middle-aged cultivator had this idea, but this also reminded him. So he said, sorry. These spiritual fruits were indeed picked from a fruit tree. But I was not the only one who discovered the fruit tree at that time. The fruit tree was not saved in the end. It was destroyed for some reasons. In the end, only these second-level spiritual fruits were left in my hands. Taoist friend, please give me an estimate of the price of these spiritual fruits first. When the middle-aged cultivator heard this, the corners of his mouth twitched. He probably cursed Lin Changqing and the others in his heart, saying that they were a group of prodigals who didn't know the value of the fruit. However, after he calmed down, he said, "It's a pity to destroy this precious spiritual plant. In this case, our Lingbao Pavilion is willing to buy it at the price of 2,000 lower-grade spirit stones for each zoo fruit. What do you think, fellow Taoist?" Lin Changqing heard this and shook his head and said, "Not very good. This second-level zoo fruit, a cultivator in the key refining stage, only needs to take one to improve his own cultivation by one level, which is equivalent to saving them several years of time. Moreover, I have taken one of this thing myself. Even with my cultivation in the middle stage of foundation building. After taking it, it is equivalent to increasing the results of 3 months of hard practice, and there is no accumulation of pill poison. And each of your second-level upper-grade spirit-raising pills requires 300 lower-grade spirit stones. Normally, at least 3 to 4 are needed every month, right? Calculating the cost of 3 months of cultivation, there are more than 3,000 lower-grade spirit stones, right? Not to mention, the time saved has not been calculated. So 2,000 lower-grade spirit stones each is impossible. In my mind, each spiritual fruit should be sold for at least 5,000 lower-grade spirit stones." Zhao Zhangyan almost exploded when he heard it, and said hurriedly, 5,000 low-grade spirit stones are impossible. Taoist friend just calculated it himself. The thing is probably worth about 3,000 spirit stones, but you have to leave a little profit margin for our Lingbao Pavilion. Otherwise, wouldn't our Lingbao Pavilion have worked in vain? How about this? 5,000 spirit stones are really impossible. 3,000 low-grade spirit stones for each second-level spirit fruit. I will give Taoist friend a VIP card of Lingbao Pavilion. What do you think? Lin Changqing glanced at him with a smile, and then said, "Dao Zhao, do you really not understand, or are you pretending not to understand? Or do you think I don't understand? Can't you feel the activity in the 6 fruit cores? If they are cultivated well, they will be 600-year-old zoo fruit trees in a few decades. Do you want me to cast an inactivation spell on them now, and then sell them to you at the price of 3,000 spirit stones each?" Zhao Zhangyan heard it, and his whole face flushed a little. Including the shop assistants, they all looked at him in surprise, but fortunately, the self-control ability of the monks was relatively strong. He forced himself to calm down, laughed, and then forced an explanation. "Oh, what a mistake, I didn't even take this aspect into consideration. As expected, the seller is the one who really understands the goods. Then let's do as you say. Each second-level spiritual fruit will be sold at the price of 5,000 low-grade spiritual stones. The next thing can be left to Xiaoxin to handle. I have something else to do, so I'll leave you first." After saying that, without waiting for Lin Changqing to answer, he left the box in a flash. After this operation, the shop assistant Xiaoxin was embarrassed. But after all, it was a customer he handled, so he could only bite the bullet and say, "Senior, this is a second-level medium-grade stormboat. Do you need anything else? I'll wait a moment, so I can send it to you together." Lin Changqing took the stormboat and thought that Chuer's wings had not yet healed. So he said, "Do you have any second-level healing pills here? Give me a few by the way." The shop assistant Xiaozin said directly, "How about a second-level mid-grade rejuvenation pill? 200 low-grade spirit stones each. How about I prepare 5 for you, senior?" Lin Changqing listened and nodded. "Okay. Let's do as you say. But help me exchange some mid-grade spirit stones." "The specific amount is up to you," the shop assistant agreed, and then went downstairs to prepare spirit stones and pills. Not long after, he came back and handed a bottle of pills and a storage bag to Lin Changqing. Then he said, "Senior, according to our shopkeeper's meaning, all your 100-year-old red fruits are purchased at the price of 6,000 spirit stones each. So minus the 10,000 spirit stones for the purchase of the storm boat, there are still 26,000 spirit stones in the storage bag. Among them, 10,000 low-grade spirit stones have been exchanged for 100 medium-grade spirit stones for you, all in the storage bag. And this bottle of rejuvenation pill, the shopkeeper means that it is our Lingbao Pavilion's compensation to the senior. After all, some people are assigned by the headquarters, and now the shopkeeper can't control it. Hearing the shop assistant say this, Lin Changqing instantly understood what the shopkeeper of Lingbao Pavilion meant. It was this matter that their Lingbao Pavilion did not do it properly, but this person was assigned by the top, and he couldn't control it. However, for the reputation of Lingbao Pavilion, they gave Lin Changqing some compensation and asked him not to go out and publicize it. After all, this kind of thing is too damaging to the reputation. Fortunately, Lin Changqing didn't plan to make trouble. He had just arrived and didn't want to provoke a big force like Wandao sect. Besides, the shopkeeper of Lingbao Pavilion has already expressed his opinion, so there is no need for him to be so fussy. Even if there is a feud, it is between Lin Changqing and the Zhaoxiangayan. So after sorting out his thoughts, he said directly, I will accept the spirit stones and elixirs. Tell your shopkeeper that I understand what he means, and I will not spread what happened today. The shop assistant was overjoyed and said repeatedly, thank you for your understanding. Thank you for your understanding. Lin Changqing put away the things, waved his hand, refused the shop assistant's kindness to send him out, and left in a low-key manner. After the comparison, he missed Zuanayan continent even more. At least such a thing would not happen in Wanbao Pavilion over there. After returning to his own courtyard, he activated the restrictions that came with the courtyard. Then he took out the newly acquired second-level storm boat and directly sacrificed it. After finishing, he checked the spirit stones in the storage bag again, and the number was exactly the same as the shop assistant said. And the storage bag that came with it was just right for him to use to decorate his storefront, so it was like killing two birds with one stone. He let Chuer out again, checked the wound on its wings, and then gave it a rejuvenation pill. The good news is that with a pill, Chuer should be able to recover in about 2 or 3 months. Chapter 585 Attached Message. The only pity is that he didn't put some green jade tea into the spirit beast bracelet, otherwise, he would have spirit tea to drink. Now he can only start practicing directly. Fortunately, he still has some red fruit wine in his hand, but it can only support his practice for about half a year. Including the remaining more than 100 red fruits, he dare not feed the purple crystal scorpion. Lin Changqing decided to keep these things for himself in the future before there are better resources. There is no way, now the resources are limited, so this is the only way. The next day, after Lin Changqing completed the basic practice tasks, he left his yard. Yesterday he saw a place similar to a street stall square. But maybe because it was already evening, there were not many people, so he wanted to go over and take a look today. The place is not too far, just at the intersection of 2 main roads. He walked there for about a quarter of an hour. But this time he was really disappointed. The place is quite large, but there are only 20 or 30 stalls scattered there. After walking around, Lin Changqing didn't see anything that he liked. He simply found a tea house, ordered a pot of spiritual tea, and tasted it slowly. It was still early, and there were not many people in the tea house, but he was not in a hurry. After more than an hour, more people came. Lin Changqing began to hear some of the things he wanted to know, such as who hunted a few second-level ghost-headed sharks there, who picked some precious spiritual plants there, and of course some messy gossip. But he concluded that the most important news was that in this world, there was an organization that specialized in selling information, and its name was Tingfang Pavilion. As long as you pay the spiritual stones, they can find out any news you want to know for you. Lin Changqing had seen this name yesterday, but he didn't pay attention to it. Now it was still early, and he wanted to go over and see it. So after paying the bill, he walked towards the Tingfang Pavilion in his impression. After a while, he found the place. It was a very ordinary storefront. If they didn't know their details, no one would be willing to come in. When Lin Changqing stepped into the Tingfang Pavilion, he heard a voice saying, if you want to buy news, please go to the left passage. As long as you see a room with an open door, you can go in and someone will naturally receive you. If you want to sell news, please go to the right passage and go directly to the room at the bottom. This Tingfang Pavilion is quite mysterious. Lin Changqing has not seen a single figure since he came in. There is nothing to hesitate about. He walked to the left passage and found a row of 6 rooms. The doors of 3 rooms were closed, and the remaining 3 were open. Lin Changqing randomly found a room and walked in. The layout inside was very clean and tidy, with only a table and a chair, and the overall style was dark gray. However, as soon as Lin Changqing entered the room, the door was immediately closed, which scared him. Then he heard a female voice saying, please sit down, fellow Taoist. Don't be nervous. The door is closed to ensure that the news is not leaked out. There is no other meaning. Lin Changqing nodded and didn't say anything. After all, it was his first time here, so it was better to speak less. After he sat down, the female voice asked again. What kind of information do you want to buy? Lin Changqing hesitated for a moment before saying, I want to find a place where I can hunt second-level monsters. It would be best if the materials on them are of higher value. There is no problem with a larger number, but there cannot be third-level monsters. After hearing Lin Changqing's request, the other side did not answer immediately, but after a while, the woman said, I have several places that meet your requirements. I have selected 3 of the most valuable ones. I will tell you about them. Which one do you think is suitable? Then we can discuss the specific price. Lin Changqing nodded and said, okay. Please tell me, I'm all ears. The first type is the second-level monster cart beast, which is mainly in the early and middle stages of the second level, and there are about 20 of them. Their scales can be used to refine defensive spiritual tools or defensive inner armor, and the demon pills can be used to refine pills to increase cultivation. The second type is the second-order longhorn silver sea cow. There are relatively few of them, only about 11 or 12, but their cultivation is relatively high, generally above the middle and late stages of the second order. Their longhorns can be used to refine defensive second-order top-grade silver-winged flying swords, and their cowhide can be used to refine defensive spiritual tools, not to mention their demon pills. The last type is a nest of second-order ice sea snakes, which are very numerous and have all kinds of cultivation. But their demon pills can be used to refine second-order ice heart pills, which can be used to eliminate the evil spirits on the body and suppress the inner demons. Therefore, the value is very high and the number is large, which is the most suitable choice for Taoist friends. I personally recommend Taoist friends to choose this one. Of course, this is just my personal suggestion. The specific choice still depends on the Taoist friends themselves. After listening to this, Lin Changqing first ruled out the cart beast, because in his opinion, this one had the lowest value. Then he ruled out the ice sea snake, because there were too many of them, and most of the snakes were poisonous. It was impossible for the purple crystal scorpion and the startling cicada to stay in the water for a long time, and he probably couldn't handle a whole nest by himself, so he simply ruled it out. In the end, only the longhorn silver manatee was left, so he said, how many spirit stones do I need to pay to know the news of the second monster? The female voice answered, the overall value of a second-level longhorn silver manatee is about 3,000 low-grade spirit stones. Tingfang Pavilion charges according to the principle of 2 out of 10 Daoyao needs to pay 7,200 low-grade spirit stones, and we guarantee that the information will be valid within 3 months. Seeing that you are a new face, we will give you a discount. You only need to pay 6,000 low-grade spirit stones. I hope Daoyao will pay more attention in the future. When Lin Changqing heard this, he was really shocked. He didn't expect the price to be so expensive. If ordinary cultivators cannot successfully hunt these monsters after purchasing the information, wouldn't it be a big loss? The man probably saw Lin Changqing's hesitation, so he said again, if the transaction can be successful this time, I can give you a piece of news for free. This is a piece of news about joining the door. I believe you will definitely be interested. Lin Changqing's heart was greatly excited when he heard this. This was the news he needed. Chapter 586 Decision. So Lin Changqing poured 6,000 low-grade spirit stones onto the table without any hesitation. Then the table sank and disappeared. When it came back again, it brought back a jade slip. After seeing it, Lin Changqing did not check the contents of the jade slip immediately. He believed that such a big name as Tingfang Pavilion would not deceive him in such a matter. After holding the jade slip in his hand, Lin Changqing asked directly, now the transaction is considered to be completed. Can you tell me the news of the free gift? The voice chuckled and said, thank you for your trust, I will tell you now. About a year later, Xianshu sect will hold the Xianshu Grand Ceremony held every 30 years. This is actually a meeting to recruit disciples. If you are interested, you can go to Hangshan Island, the location of Wandao sect, in a year, and you will naturally know what it is. This news was too simple, half said and half left, which made Lin Changqing very uncomfortable. So he asked, didn't Daoyao say that it's held once every 30 years? Then it should have been held before, right? Can you explain the specific situation to me in detail? And as far as I know, these big sects should train their disciples from childhood, right? Why does Dao Yao say that even a cultivator like me with skills has the opportunity to join Xianshu sect? The voice hesitated for a moment, but still said, okay. Anyway, I have time now, so I'll explain it to you. The Xianshu sect holds the Xianshu ceremony to gather the top talents from all the affiliated forces and recruit them for their own use. For example, in the Wandao sect's sphere of influence, all cultivators of the right age who are interested in joining the sect can gather on Hangshan Island. If the spiritual roots are excellent and meet the entry standards of Xianshu sect, they can directly join Xianshu sect. As for cultivators whose spiritual roots are not excellent enough, they can consider joining Wandao sect of course. The premise is that Wandao sect must be able to look up to them. There is another way, that is, if the cultivator has outstanding combat power, he also has the opportunity to join the Xianshu sect, but there are only about 2 to 3 people in each area. After listening to her explanation, Lin Changqing understood what was going on. This so-called Xianshu ceremony is actually the Xianshu sect collecting talents and strengthening itself in order to achieve the purpose of weakening and controlling affiliated forces. It can be said to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But this has nothing to do with Lin Changqing. On the contrary, he is happy to see it happen. Otherwise, how would he get the opportunity to join the Xianshu sect? However, there are still some things you must ask clearly, so he continued to ask, I just heard from fellow Taoists that there is an age limit. I wonder what it is exactly? Also, what kind of spiritual roots can directly join the Xianshu sect? Lin Changqing had so many questions that the woman was a little impatient, but she thought of the free information she promised him. So he patiently answered, according to past experience, they all require qualifications of more than 3 spiritual roots, and one of the spiritual roots qualifications is more than 50 points. In order to directly join the Xianshu sect, the age limit is that the bone age of those who have not practiced is under 12 years old. The bone age of those in the key refining stage is under 30 years old, and the bone age of the foundation establishment stage is under 60 years old. This meets their requirements. There are also those monks who have passed the arena, fighting competition, and finally won and joined the Xianshu sect. There is also this age limit, which is probably like this. Of course, the specific details will be known by yourself when you go to Hangshan Island, because maybe there will be some changes this time. Hearing this, Lin Changqing was actually very clear. He also knew that the female cultivator who received him was impatient, so he was very conscious. After thanking her, he got up and said goodbye and left. This news is really very important and timely for Lin Changqing. He has decided in his heart that he must join the Xianshu sect no matter what. In this way, even if he can't return to his original world in the future, he can have a place to rely on to settle down. After returning to the courtyard where he rented, he counted the remaining spiritual stones in his hand, and there were still more than 20,000 spiritual stones. He decided to earn some spiritual stones before leaving. So he looked at the jade slip given by Tingfang Pavilion, and finally found out the location of the group of longhorn silver sea cows. They are in a place called Honggyang Island, about 1,500 miles southeast of the east, where a kind of first-grade low-grade spiritual fruit called Honggyang date is produced in abundance. But there is an owner there, and there are usually people guarding it, so you can't just go up and pick it. However, he didn't have a sea chart of the Wandao domain, so he went outside and spent 500 spiritual stones to buy a full area sea chart of the Wandao domain. After studying the route to Honggyang Island, he found that it was quite far away. It would take about half a month to fly from here. And the place of Honggyang Island is about 20 days away from another market. So Lin Changqing decided that after hunting, he would go directly to that market, because it would be closer to Hangshan Island. He has decided to slowly rush to Hangshan Island during this period of time. It is estimated that it will take about half a year to fly there. Early the next morning, after Lin Changqing finished packing, he left the small courtyard where he had lived for a few days. After leaving the east gate and flying towards Honggyang Island, Lin Changqing still asked Chu Ai to take him. Every time at this time, he was particularly heartbroken about the Lost Moandao. It was the most comfortable to travel on that thing. He really missed it. After flying for more than 2 hours on the endless sea, Chu Ai issued a warning to Lin Changqing. There was a spirit boat on the left, which was very fast and seemed to be heading towards them. Lin Changqing saw that it was only a second-level upper-grade spirit boat, and he couldn't help but be overjoyed. What he was least afraid of was the cultivators of the same level. No matter how many came, they were just sending him resources and spirit stones, But he had to do the whole show. He asked Chuai to speed up and pretend to want to get rid of them. Sure enough, the spirit boat also began to speed up. The two sides chased and fled. After flying for another 2/4 of an hour, the distance was shortened to about 500 feet. At this time, 4 beams of light flew out from the spirit boat. 2 on the left and 2 on the right, and surrounded Lin Changqing. Lin Changqing immediately knew that this must be a standard hunting team. They were probably back from hunting monsters, and just happened to see him alone, so they wanted to take advantage of the situation. Many monster hunting teams did this, and Lin Changqing didn't find it strange at all. At this point, the distance between them and Lin Changqing was so close, so he didn't need to act anymore. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 587, A Wave of Fat. Lin Changqing directly asked Chuai to turn around and rush towards them, and all the purple crystal scorpions were released by him. At once, 88 purple lights were divided into 5 groups and rushed towards 5 targets. Their speed was much faster than Chuai. But after all, they were 500 feet apart, which gave the few robber cultivators on the opposite side a little time to react. Seeing this situation, they also knew that they might hide a wall this time. So they immediately blasted out flying swords, talismans, and spells without reservation. They tried to intercept the purple crystal scorpions from approaching, but unfortunately the effect was not great. The purple crystal scorpions were small in size and fast in speed. So most of their attacks failed, and a small part hit the body of the purple crystal scorpions, and the results were not great, just knocking them down or repelling them. But they soon flew back, and soon the purple crystal scorpions also launched attacks, with purple lights crisscrossing. Then, there were continuous sharp screams on the sea, and then there were continuous sounds of falling into the water. Lin Changqing is very poor now, so he naturally doesn't want his spoils to fall into the sea and be lost. So Lin Changqing ordered the corresponding purple crystal scorpions to help bring back all the fallen spiritual tools. He himself took more than 20 purple crystal scorpions to chase the remaining spiritual boat, because it saw that the situation was not right and turned around and ran away in advance. However, since Lin Changqing has taken action, he will definitely not leave a trouble for himself. So he has now left Chuai's back, equipped with wind and thunder wings, and is using wind and thunder escape to desperately chase the spiritual boat. Fortunately, his escape speed is fast enough, and he was caught up after only about 5 or 6 miles. Then the defense on the spiritual boat was broken by him with 3 Jiangjing divine thunders. The spiritual boat went out of control and fell into the sea. Lin Changqing rushed up at the first time and found that there was only a beautiful female cultivator who had fainted inside. It's a pity that he was not interested in taking a captive with him. Besides, this female cultivator might be the Taoist partner of one of the 4 robber cultivators in front, so he couldn't keep her. So Lin Changqing sent her on her way without any hesitation, and after collecting the spiritual boat and the spoils, he went back to join Chuai and the others. There were 4 bodies of foundation building monks floating on the sea, and they were dragged together by Chuai. They were all killed by the purple light rays and shot into seas. When Lin Changqing came back, he saw that the surrounding sea surface was stained red with blood. He immediately went down and took off their storage bags and the things they were wearing. This time he harvested a total of 15 storage bags and some odds and ends. The 5 bodies were also collected by Lin Changqing. If they were left in place, they would probably be discovered by the monks passing by, causing unnecessary trouble. So he took the bodies away first and prepared to find an opportunity to deal with them. Then he summoned all the purple crystal scorpions back, and they brought back more than a dozen spiritual tools for Lin Changqing. But he just put the things away first and planned to check them again when he rested at night. Then he sat on Chuai's back and continued on his way. The next few hours went much smoother. It was calm all the way and nothing happened. When it was completely dark, he released his storm boat and let the spirit boat float on the sea. The spirit boat that could accommodate 12 cultivators was relatively spacious, and Lin Changqing felt very satisfied. Because in this way, he didn't have to go out of his way to find reefs or isolated islands to rest overnight. But at this time, he was more interested in what those robber cultivators had brought him. So he began to take out all 15 storage bags for sacrifice. After all were done, he realized that 10 of them were used to hold the corpses of the monsters and monsters they hunted. And these monster corpses have been decomposed. Lin Changqing is going to exchange all the useful spiritual materials for spiritual stones. The remaining monster meat is used to feed his own spirit insects and spirit beasts, and he just needs these things very much. There are 5 more storage bags, which are the personal belongings of the monster hunting team. Lin Changqing poured them all out and began to classify and count them. He found that there were about 18,000 low-grade spiritual stones, plus 70 to 80 medium-grade spiritual stones, for a total of 26,000 spiritual stones. There were also quite a few elixirs. Apart from the empty bottles, there were more than 30 bottles, most of which were elixirs for increasing cultivation, and a small number of which were elixirs for healing and detoxification. He should use these elixirs in the future, so he put them in the spiritual beast bracelet and put some of the spiritual stones into the bracelet. The next thing was the spiritual tools. He found a total of 22 spiritual tools. Most of them were attack spiritual tools, with as many as 15 of them, all of which were flying sword spiritual tools of the second level middle and upper grades or above. Among the remaining 7 defensive spiritual tools, 6 were second level upper grades, and 1 was a top grade defensive spiritual tool. Lin Changqing selected a blue top grade water attributed flying sword and 2 second level upper grade gold attributed flying swords from these spiritual tools. He also took out the 3 best defensive spiritual tools separately, preparing to use them as his own common spiritual tools after offering sacrifices. He is now using thunder attribute spiritual tools, which are too conspicuous. In order not to attract attention, he still needs some ordinary spiritual tools to cover it up. He also found a bunch of access certificates and jade slips. Other people's access certificates are of no use to him. He is quite interested in the jade slips, but after checking, he found that many of the contents are repeated. Most of them are sea charts and news jade slips purchased in Jiufeng Pavilion. Most of them are about the second level monsters. It is estimated that they have been hunted by them. The monster meat and spiritual materials in the storage bag are evidence. He only left a few practice notes and planned to flip through them when he has time to see if there will be any unexpected gains. In the end, there was only a pile of clothes and sundries left. The only good news was that Lin Changqing found a small can of second-level spiritual tea in it. It is estimated to be about 3 or 4 taels. This made Lin Changqing very happy. He has spiritual tea to drink again. He's really a little uncomfortable without spiritual tea to drink recently, but fortunately, he has it again now. After sorting out the various spiritual objects, he made himself a pot of spiritual tea. Lin Changqing was still very happy today, having harvested so many resources and spiritual stones. These things may not have seemed important to him before. But now, they are very important resources to him. It was like injecting strong support into his almost empty pockets, and it came very timely, and it was a wave of fat. Chapter 588, The Food of the Shocking Cicada. Lin Changqing tasted a mouthful of spiritual tea and found that after drinking it, it turned into a warm air mass in his body, as if it dispelled all the moisture around him. He compared it and found that this tea was quite unique, but it might be more suitable for cultivators with fire attributes. But compared to his own green jade tea, it was far worse, but now it was good to drink it, so he didn't force it. In the following time, he drank tea while refining spiritual tools, and it took more than an hour to finish it all. He took out the second-level upper-grade spiritual boat that he had broken and checked it again. It was confirmed that the spiritual boat had suffered considerable damage and needed to be repaired before it could be used again, so he ignored it. Wait until the next market, and then find someone to take a look. If it is too troublesome, just sell it directly. Then put everything away, and then began to practice magic and thunder scriptures. The next morning, Lin Changqing started to hurry on his way, but Chuai took him flying, and he felt quite bored after sitting on it for a long time. So he began to practice the 5 Elements Chaos Sutra. Now he no longer had the support of Lin Changqing in the inner space. If he wanted to go further on the immortal path, Lin Changqing would have to practice harder in the future. Just like this long journey, you still have to make use of the time. Fortunately, it was relatively smooth today. Only at noon, he encountered a wave of key refining cultivators. They saw Lin Changqing and avoided him from a distance, so nothing happened. Now, the farther away from Changlong Island, the harder it is to meet other cultivators. After all, the entire sea area is too wide, and if you want to meet them, you need a little luck. In fact, on the way, Lin Changqing also saw some other monsters, but the grades were not too high and there was no great value, so he was too lazy to do it. After all, monsters above the second level are not everywhere. Here we need to popularize that the monsters in the sea are actually similar to those on land. Let's not talk about the first level, which are everywhere, but monsters like the second level and above, if they have strength, will choose a place with rich spiritual energy to stay. Unless they can find a better place, or after they advance, the spiritual energy on the land is not enough to support their cultivation, they will change to a new place. So in fact, there are not as many monsters in the sea as Lin Changqing imagined. On the contrary, because the sea is vast and boundless, the monsters of higher grades are more difficult to find, but generally speaking, there are still many more than on land. Therefore, this sea area has a special profession, called the demon hunter. The monks with this profession often wander in the vast and boundless sea to find and inquire about the news of monsters, and sell them to Tingfang Pavilion or other monks for a living. These demon hunters are all monks who are good at water escape. Because in the sea, water escape has an innate bonus, and other escape here really can't play. Fortunately, Lin Changqing knows all the 5 elements escape, but this place is all water, so water escape is still the most useful. Therefore, he decided to focus on practicing water escape in the future. After flying for more than 10 days, he finally arrived at his destination, Hongayang Island. This island is not too big, and it is estimated to be about the same size as Jinsu Island. He saw in the air that there were a large area of spiritual jujube trees on the island protected by the magic array. Suddenly, he thought of his Jingshan cicada, which had not much food left, so he could not help but fly to Hongayang Island. At this time, the garrison monks on the island also found him, and flew out a foundation-building monk to intercept him directly. He said, "Fellow Taoist, please stop. These spiritual jujube trees are the property of one Dao sect. Please do not approach them at will." Lin Changqing hurriedly said, "Fellow Taoist, you misunderstood. I did not intend to take these spiritual jujube trees. I came here to find you and want to buy some Hongayang jujubes from you. I wonder if you have any in stock." The monk hesitated for a moment, but still said, "Yes. Our on-duty monks will allocate some Hongayang thorns every year. However, Hongayang jujube is a first-grade low-grade spiritual fruit, and each one requires 4 low-grade spiritual stones. How many do you need?" Lin Changqing couldn't help frowning when he heard it. This price is a bit expensive. So he said, "Dao, I want to buy 5,000 red sun dates. Can the price be a little cheaper?" The cultivator was a little surprised when he heard this. The amount Lin Changqing wanted was really a lot. This was already most of the inventory he had, but being able to sell so much at one time saved him a lot of trouble. So he said, "The 5,000 red sun dates will cost a total of 20,000 low-grade spirit stones. I'll give you a discount. What do you think, Dao?" Lin Changqing felt that the price was barely acceptable, so he stopped worrying about it. So he said, "Thank you very much, Dao. Let's go with the price you said." Then the two of them successfully completed the transaction. Red sun dates are a light red spirit fruit that is half the size of a fist. Now with these 5,000 red sun dates, all his shocking god cicadas can eat for a long time. After saying goodbye to the cultivator guarding Red Sun Island, Lin Changqing flew in the direction of the longhorn silver sea cow. A distance of 1,500 miles is actually just 2 or 3 hours for him. Therefore, he found the place very quickly, but there were no traces on the sea surface, so Lin Changqing needed to go down to the sea to look for it. However, underwater fighting was not something Lin Changqing was good at, so his current idea was to go down by himself and lead the longhorn silver manatee out of the sea. Then let the purple crystal scorpion or the shocking cicada help kill them. After carefully deducing it in his mind and confirming that there was no problem, he first released the purple crystal scorpion and all the second-level shocking cicadas. After they were scattered in the sea area, he then dived into the sea, and then performed the water escape technique to search in the sea. However, this place is quite deep. Lin Changqing dived nearly 200 feet before reaching the bottom of the sea. At this depth, the light was much darker, but fortunately Lin Changqing's consciousness was still relatively strong, so it did not have much impact. And he was more or less experienced, so he carefully sensed the concentration of the surrounding spiritual energy, and then looked for the place with the most spiritual energy. Sure enough, half an hour later, he finally found it. A large group of longhorn silver manatees gathered in a concave basin. Chapter 589, Catch Them All. The number of second-order silver sea cows was similar to that provided in the data, but there were a few more first-order silver sea cows. But it didn't matter, Lin Changqing could use them. He first communicated with his two spirit insects and Shuai, and mobilized them to the corresponding positions. Then he took out the water-attributed flying sword and attacked the outermost first-order silver sea cow. No matter what the outcome was, he immediately rushed to the sea. However, on the way up, he could clearly feel that the water behind him was boiling. In that case, he dared not stop at all. If he was dragged into the sea, he would be in trouble and might even be injured here. So he could only rush to the sea with all his strength. Fortunately, he quickly rushed out of the sea, and then was caught by Shuai and flew into the air. At this time, all the longhorn silver sea cows also rushed out of the sea, but what greeted them was the joint attack of the purple crystal scorpion and the startling cicada. Instantly, the whole sea area was filled with a sound of zhi, and the sound of z, of purple rays, followed by a huge and tragic, continuous moo sound. There was also the sound of tails slapping the sea surface. Anyway, after a long time of excitement, the sea area finally became quiet again. At this time, Lin Changqing came down to collect the spoils, because Shuai couldn't bear the shocking magic of the shocking god cicada. So they flew farther away, and after everything settled, Shuai took Lin Changqing back. Now there are a total of 16 bodies of longhorn silver sea cows on the sea surface, 4 of which are first level. Lin Changqing took off their inner elixirs and longhorns at the first time. After removing the internal organs, he put the remaining torsos into the storage bag. At this time, the entire sea surface was dyed red. However, Lin Changqing did not leave immediately, but dived down again, came to the silver sea cow's nest, and searched carefully. In fact, he had just felt that there should be a second-level middle-grade spiritual vein here. If a magic array could be set up here, it would be a good place to build an underwater villa. Unfortunately, this place is a bit useless to him. It would be better if the spiritual vein grade could be higher. However, he didn't want it himself. He could sell the news of this place to Tingfang Pavilion. I just don't know if they have already known this news. But he searched for a long time and found nothing. He only found some bones left by them, but these were not of much value, so he gave up in the end. After he returned to the sea, he released his storm boat and controlled the spiritual boat to fly east. After 300 or 400 miles, he stopped to rest. After so much trouble, he finally completed the task. It happened that the sky was getting dark. He was going to set off tomorrow and go directly to Xinfang City. He took one of the red sundates he bought today and ate it himself. It felt pretty good, sweet and sour and juicy. The shocking god cicada should like it. So he took out more than 100 red sundates, squeezed them into juice with a spirit capture technique, put them into the spirit beast bracelet, and fed them to the shocking god cicada. Sure enough, they all liked it very much. This made Lin Changqing feel relieved. Now that the conditions were limited, he could only make do with the lowest-priced spiritual fruits. When the conditions were better in the future, he could feed them with high-level spiritual fruits. The purple crystal scorpion was simpler. There were still a lot of spiritual crystals. He just threw some monster meat and a few hundred low-grade spiritual stones into it, and that was enough to feed it. The next day was the first and second day of the first lunar month. Lin Changqing fed them some monster meat, but unfortunately there was no more soul-enhancing pills, and Zhu Guo was going to keep them for himself. So Lin Changqing had an idea and took out a soul-enhancing pill from the soul-enhancing bracelet and placed it in front of the first day of the first lunar month. Just when he asked it if it wanted to eat it, he didn't expect it to swallow it in one gulp, and called out to Lin Changqing twice with pride, and then the second day of the first lunar month also called out to him. It meant that it also wanted to eat that kind of pill, so Lin Changqing was not stingy and directly fed it a soul-enhancing pill and a rejuvenation pill. After all, the broken section of its wings had not yet fully grown out. So every 10 days or about half a month, Lin Changqing would give it a rejuvenation pill. Finally, it was the treasure-hunting mouse hairball. It was still in the late stage of the first stage. Unfortunately, it had no place to use its skills in this world. But after all, it was his own spiritual beast, so Lin Changqing threw a red sundate to it and ignored it. After finishing these things, he sorted out the spoils of war he had harvested today, and then he began to practice. Early the next morning, after Lin Changqing took back the storm boat, he headed east. His destination this time was Changjiang Market, which was in a place called Changjiang Island. It would take about 20 days to fly from here at his speed. He planned to sell all the spiritual materials on his body and exchange them for spiritual stones, but he would not sell those things for the robbery cultivation for the time being. After all, the two markets were not too far apart. So it was better to be careful, lest someone recognize these things and cause him unnecessary trouble. Because he planned to take all these things to Hangshan Island and find a suitable place to dispose of them. However, this kind of thing is obviously problematic, so the valuation must be reduced by at least 30%. Of course, if he wants, he can actually go to Hangshan Island and sell it on the street, which will definitely earn more spirit stones. It's just that he doesn't want to waste so much time. With that time, it's better to practice more, which is more practical. Today, Chuai took him to fly as usual. However, after only flying for half a day, Lin Changqing received Chuai's warning. The two boats were chasing each other, one in front and one behind, and it seemed that the spirit boat in front had discovered Lin Changqing. It was turning around and rushing towards his location at a high speed. In this case, Lin Changqing knew what was going on at a glance. But he didn't want to meddle in other people's business, let alone cause trouble, so he communicated with Chuai and asked it to change direction. However, the two spirit boats also changed direction at the same time. It seemed that they really relied on Lin Changqing. After changing direction 3 times in a row, he knew that he couldn't get rid of them, so he simply let Chuai stop in the air. In fact, at this time, Lin Changqing was already furious. Anyone who was blamed by them for no reason would definitely not be in a good mood. In addition, he had changed direction 3 times in a row, clearly showing that he did not want to participate. Chapter 590, Raging Fury. I didn't expect them to keep coming back. That would be like asking for death. Lin Changqing had already decided that if everything was really as he thought, then he would kill all the people on the 2 spirit boats. In his eyes, the last spirit boat must be full of robbery cultivators. But the cultivators on the robbed spirit boat were probably not good people either. Once they encountered a little danger, they would do everything they could to drag others into the water. Therefore, in Lin Changqing's eyes, they were actually the same as those robbery cultivators. So in his heart, he had already sentenced all the cultivators on the 2 spirit boats to death. The distance of more than 10 miles was reached in a short while. When the first spiritual boat was 300 feet away from Lin Changqing, a middle-aged foundation-building cultivator came out and shouted to him, "Dao." The spiritual boat behind is the famous robbery gang in this area, the 3 brothers of the Jin family and their men. You should quickly join our spiritual boat. Let's fight against them together, maybe there's still a glimmer of hope. Lin Changqing looked at him expressionlessly and said coldly, I am not interested in your affairs. While the two were talking, the distance between them had narrowed to 30 or 40 feet. At this time, the middle-aged cultivator heard Lin Changqing reject them without hesitation, and knew that he did not have much time to persuade him to join. So he had an idea and threw a storage bag to Lin Changqing, and said, I'm sorry, Dao, I dragged you in. This is 50,000 low-grade spiritual stones, which is a compensation for you. You should leave here quickly, and we will say goodbye. After that, he retracted into the spiritual boat, and then accelerated and rushed past Lin Changqing. Lin Changqing was stunned for a moment when he suddenly received the storage bag, but he reacted immediately and was furious. This old immortal thing actually plotted against Lin Changqing again. On the surface, it was compensation for him, but no matter what was in the storage bag he threw to Lin Changqing, the robbery cultivators who were more than 2 miles away must have seen it. After all, in the eyes of the robbery cultivators, this thing was their predetermined trophy. If it was obtained by others, they would definitely not give up. At that time, they would definitely dispatch people to hunt him down. Then he would definitely not sit and wait for death. There is a great probability that he would choose a direction to escape. In that case, for the cultivators who were escaping on the spirit boat in front, it would be equivalent to weakening the strength of the robbery cultivators, greatly increasing their chances of escaping. This is really to survive, and he will do everything he can. This operation is really amazing, but it really disgusted Lin Changqing to death. Having said so much, in fact, the spirit boat in front only rushed out a distance of less than 200 feet. Lin Changqing decided to kill them himself, So he flipped his hand and the thunder horn that had been ready to go appeared in his hand. Then he quickly locked onto the fleeing spirit boat in front and fired 3 Jiufeng god thunders in succession. Boom, 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 3 huge thunderous sounds resounded throughout the sea, and the spirit boat that was hit staggered and fell into the sea. After shooting down the spirit boat in front, he had an idea. And half of the purple crystal scorpions around him rushed out quickly. Lin Changqing didn't care about the rest. At this time, he held the thunder horn in his hand and quickly poured thunder magic into it. Then with the help of Babe, very quickly, 3 new Jiufeng god thunders were generated in the horn, ready to go. At this time, 4 or 5 extremely sharp screams came from the spirit boat in front, and then there was no movement. At this time, the spirit boat of the robbery repairer behind was only more than 300 feet away from Lin Changqing. However, at this time, the robbery cultivators behind also saw what happened in front. In such a short time, they completely wiped out a 5-man hunting demon team in the foundation building period. With such strong strength, they could not afford to provoke them. If they fought head-on, they would die. So the spirit boat quickly stopped, and a cultivator in his 30s with a dark complexion in the late foundation building period came out. He shouted to Lin Changqing with a smile on his face, "Thank you, fellow Taoist, for eradicating this group of robbery cultivators for our area. It is really a great merit. But it seems that fellow Taoist is still busy. If there is nothing else, we will not disturb you and collect the spoils. Goodbye." After saying that, without waiting for Lin Changqing's answer, the spirit boat turned around and wanted to leave. Unfortunately, Lin Changqing didn't listen to them at all, no matter how wonderful their words were, no matter whether they were robbery cultivators or not. Even Lin Changqing was too lazy to pay attention to them. After seeing his purple crystal scorpion, it was impossible for them to leave alive. Just after they turned around, he thought about it, locked onto the target, and fired 3 Jiufeng divine thunderbolts immediately. Boom, 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 3 huge thunderous sounds resounded throughout the sea again, and this time Lin Changqing and the purple crystal scorpion rushed over together. But he kept a trick, and flew over after equipping himself with the wind and thunder wings. Chuai was sent away by him. Its task is to fly higher, cruise in the sky for dozens of miles nearby, and monitor the surrounding sea areas to prevent any fish from escaping. However, the effect of the Jiufeng divine thunderbolt was a little worse this time, because these people were prepared and were not stunned by the divine thunderbolt. Instead, they directly abandoned the spirit boat and rushed out on their swords. There were as many as 6 people. And 2 of them, after leaving the spirit boat, plunged into the sea and disappeared, obviously trying to use the water escape technique to escape. Unfortunately, Lin Changqing also knew the water escape technique, so he ignored the 4 monks who escaped on their swords and handed them over to the purple crystal scorpion. He himself used the water escape technique to closely follow the foundation building cultivator who had just spoken to him. Lin Changqing estimated that he could speak for everyone and should be the leading robber cultivator, so he kept a close eye on him. The other cultivator who used the water escape technique to escape was asked to be watched by Chuai first. After all, Chuai had golden pupils, so it was very easy to keep an eye on a cultivator who used the water escape technique to escape. And Lin Changqing's side was also very smooth, he just followed out, and after a dozen or 20 miles, the Kishu Yin lay in his hand was completed. In the Thunder Sutra, among all the basic thunder methods, only the Kishu Yin lay can be used normally in water. Because the Renshu Shinlei is a water-attributed Yang thunder, it will definitely explode directly once it is released in water. The divine consciousness locked onto the target water group that was desperately fleeing more than 200 feet away from him, and then fired the Kishu Yin lei. Chapter 591 A Clear Conscience. Very quickly, it was obvious that a 3-finger-wide white water line was drawn between Lin Changqing and the target water mass. Then there was a very low, muffled thunder, which blasted the water mass away from its original trajectory, and the entire water mass was quickly stained red with blood. Then the body of the leading monk appeared, motionless, and began to float to the surface of the water. Lin Changqing was worried that he was not dead yet, so he used the top-grade water-based flying sword to hide him a few more times. Then he approached, collected the spoils on his body, and took the body away, preparing to find a place to deal with them together with those people. Then after communicating with Chuai, he learned the location of another monk who escaped with the water escape technique, and immediately turned around and chased him. The distance was a bit far, but fortunately, Chuai kept providing his location along the way, so he did not get away. More than 60 miles away from the battlefield, he was finally intercepted by Lin Changqing, and the next step was easy. He also used Keshu Yinlai to break the man's water escape technique, and then used the flying sword to make up for it. The robber thought he had finally escaped, but he didn't expect to die in Lin Changqing's hands. After he collected the spoils and corpses, he immediately returned to the original battlefield. His purple crystal scorpion was still there, so he had to go back early to prevent someone from coming to take advantage of him. It took a while to return to the original battlefield. At this time, the battle here had already ended. The entire sea was calm, with only a few groups of seawater polluted by corpses, which were constantly turning red and spreading. All the purple crystal scorpions were scattered on 2 damaged spirit boats. Obviously, they were guarding the spoils, and Lin Changqing ignored them. He began to collect storage bags and collected all the corpses floating on the sea. Then it was the first spirit boat, and the spoils and corpses on it were also handled in the same way. Even the purple crystal scorpion helped him bring back more than a dozen spiritual tools, which he also collected together. Finally, even the 2 damaged spiritual boats were not spared by Lin Changqing. Who told him to be so poor now? These 2 are both second-grade upper-grade spiritual boats. Even if they are not repaired, they can be sold directly for at least 10,000 lower-grade spiritual stones. They can't be wasted. After patrolling the entire battlefield again, and diving to the bottom of the sea, searching once, and confirming that there is nothing missing, Lin Changqing recalled the purple crystal scorpion, then sat on Chuai's back and continued on his journey. There were a total of 11 robbery repairs on these 2 spiritual boats. Lin Changqing found a total of 32 storage bags, and a lot of miscellaneous sundries. However, at this time, Lin Changqing was offering sacrifices to the storage bag that was said to have 50,000 spiritual stones, although he knew that there was a high probability that there were no spiritual stones in it. But he couldn't help but want to verify it. He must know whether he had made a wrong judgment. In just a short while, he completed the sacrifice. When his spiritual sense probed in, there were only some monster torsos in it. That is to say, the least valuable part is very cheap, and it is definitely not worth 50,000 spirit stones. At most, it is worth a few hundred or 1,000 spirit stones. Seeing that he really did not make a mistake, Lin Changqing was relieved. After all, in his heart, he also has his own moral bottom line, and he will not kill innocent people casually. He also knows that as he experiences more and more things in the future, he will be more indifferent to life, but he does not want to become a person without a bottom line. The Tao he set for himself is to have a clear conscience. He just experienced a fierce fight, and he was not in the mood to continue practicing. So he began to take out the seized storage bags one by one and slowly sacrifice them. In addition to the 20 bags, which contained the materials and flesh of monsters, the remaining 12 bags were storage bags for the personal belongings of the cultivators, and these were the targets he focused on. He first cleaned up all the spirit stones. This time, perhaps because they were no robbery cultivators, he harvested a lot of spirit stones. After clearing the account, there were about 250,000 spirit stones, including more than 400 medium-grade spirit stones. Lin Changqing directly put all the middle-grade spiritual stones into the spiritual beast bracelet, and put the remaining low-grade spiritual stones into a special storage bag. The next thing was the elixir, a total of 70 or 80 bottles, which he couldn't use for the time being, so he put them together with the last elixir. There were more spiritual tools this time, as many as 40 or 50, but he couldn't use so many. He selected 3 top-grade defensive spiritual tools and 3 top-grade flying swords, and prepared to keep them for his own use. The remaining spiritual tools were put together with the previous ones, ready to be exchanged for spiritual stones at Hangshan Island. He put all the clothes, sundries, daily necessities and other things in a storage bag, ready to find an opportunity to deal with them. In the end, what was left was a pile of entrance and exit certificates for the market, and more than 30 jade slips. Lin Changqing checked them one by one and found that most of them were useless to him. The contents of the jade slips were either sea charts, or more ordinary exercises, or jade slips of news about Tingfang Pavilion, and a few were practice notes. Except for the practice notes, which he could look through when he had time, he put all the others in a storage bag. However, he found a piece of jade slips in the Tingfang Pavilion, which recorded the news of the Xianshu sect and the Xianshu ceremony. He reacted instantly and realized that the Tingfang Pavilion should have taken on the task of the Xianshu sect and spread the news about the Xianshu ceremony to the world of immortal cultivation. No wonder it was so easy to say that it was giving me a free piece of news at that time. It turned out that it was just a matter of going with the flow. From this point of view, Hangshan Island should be very lively in a year, so I still have to hurry up and go to the island earlier. After sorting all the things out, he took the selected spiritual tools in his hand and performed sacrifices. When everything was done and it was dark, he still put out his storm boat as a base for rest. He flew for more than 10 or 20 days, passing 1 or 2 other islands on the way, but he knew that there were cultivators stationed on them. Because he was too lazy to deal with these people, he didn't go to the island, and basically didn't encounter anything. Except that he felt that his 99th Thunder acupoint was about to succeed after a period of hard practice. Everything else was normal. Chapter 592, Strange Object Concentric Snail. That day, Lin Changqing finally arrived at Changjiang Island, which is the island where Changjiang Market is located. In fact, he was a little bored and tired after traveling for a long time on the sea alone. So he planned to deal with the monster materials and some monster meat, and then take a good rest for 2 days before continuing on his journey. Following a few young cultivators in the key refining period, he found Changjiang Market smoothly and spent some spiritual stones to get the entry and exit certificates. After a rough walk around the market, he had a spiritual meal, found a hotel, opened a room, and went in to rest first. The next day, after completing the basic training, he left the hotel and walked towards the shop he had chosen yesterday. In fact, Lin Changqing also saw the Lingbao Pavilion, but it was so unpleasant last time, so in his subconscious, he didn't want to sell things there. All the spiritual materials and some monster meat in his hand were divided into 6 parts and sold in different shops. Prevent too many spiritual objects from being sold at one time, which would attract the prying eyes of those who are interested, and thus cause unnecessary trouble. After 6 attempts, he gained a total of 120,000 spiritual stones. Lin Changqing asked the store to exchange half of them for medium-grade spiritual stones. In this way, he had a total of about 400,000 spiritual stones. And he still had a lot of resources in his hands. He didn't have to worry about spiritual stones in the short term. It only took him half a day to sell so many spiritual materials. For the rest of the time, he planned to go to the street stalls here to take a look. I just don't know if I will gain anything this time. In less than a quarter of an hour, I arrived at a place. At this time, there were only more than 100 stalls in the street stall square, and there were not too many monks visiting the stalls. Lin Changqing walked in directly and started to browse, but he was really disappointed. He looked at very ordinary things. He didn't like them at all. It was not until he was about to finish browsing that he finally saw something that was barely worth his attention. A pair of things that look a bit similar to the phoenix tail homonym conch. Lin Changqing couldn't help but ask, "Boss, what is this? Is it a concentric conch that can transmit sound?" The stall owner took a look at him and explained, "This is a concentric conch. Their only function is to sense each other's direction no matter how far away they are. And even if you put them in the spirit beast bag, there is no way to block this induction. And if one of them dies, the other will not live alone, and will end its life very quickly. So there are also cultivators who use them to transmit important information. Of course, this important information refers to life or death." Lin Changqing's heart moved when he heard it. He suddenly drifted to this world, and he didn't know if Chen Ziya and the others knew about it. However, the connection between him and the 36 purple crystal scorpions that stayed to protect Chen Ziya was extremely weak. It seemed to be there and not there, and it was almost extinguished. If nothing unexpected happens, the purple crystal scorpion should have some special reactions when he is in trouble. I don't know what Chen Ziya's reaction will be after seeing it. If they had a pair of concentric snails at that time, at least Chen Ziya could judge that he was still alive through this thing, and she wouldn't have to worry so much. So he couldn't help but want to buy the pair of concentric snails, so he asked, "Dao, how much is this pair of concentric scorpions?" The stall owner glanced at it and said, "This kind of concentric snail is a rare item. If you want it, take this pair for 35,000 spirit stones." Lin Changqing was shocked when he heard it. He didn't expect the price to be so expensive. So he couldn't help but say, "Dao, this thing of yours is at best, it can only be considered as second grade. The normal profit of hunting a second grade monster is only about 3 to 5,000 spirit stones. You bid 35,000 spirit stones, which is already the value of 10 second-grade monsters. Isn't this too exaggerated? If you really want to sell it, just offer a realistic price." The stall owner smiled and explained, "Do you think it's so easy to really encounter a pair of concentric snails in the sea? It's not an exaggeration to say that it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. Besides, if they were ordinary monsters, you wouldn't be interested, right? I offer this price because they have this price. Of course, if the price is not less, it would be a bit unkind. If Dao really wants it, then I'll take a step back. This pair of concentric snails will be sold to you for 32,000 low-grade spirit stones. I won't sell it for any lower price." When Lin Changqing heard this, he hesitated a little. Now he was alone in this world, and it wouldn't be of much use to have this thing. But it was a rare opportunity to encounter such a rare item. If he didn't take it down, he would feel very sorry. The most important thing was that more than 30,000 spiritual stones were really nothing to him. In the end, he made up his mind and bought the concentric snails. After paying 32,000 spiritual stones, the pair of concentric snails belonged to Lin Changqing. He had experience in raising this kind of snails and didn't need to ask others for advice. So after saying goodbye to the stall owner, he left the stall square. This time he finally got something, unlike the last time when he returned empty-handed. Seeing that it was almost dark, Lin Changqing found a place to have a spiritual meal, and then went back to the hotel to rest. The next day, he completed the basic training, left the hotel, and strolled to tea house. He ordered a pot of spiritual tea, and then found a suitable place to sit down. He was ready to do nothing today. Just stay here to relax for a day, and by the way, listen to the news circulating in the market recently. It can be regarded as stealing a day of leisure. After sitting for a while, more and more people came one after another, and began to hear some news about the family's family. In fact, in Lin Changqing's opinion, apart from the cultivation of the monks, there is not much difference between monks and ordinary people. They all have joys, sorrows, grievances, and hatreds. Before becoming an immortal, he was just a slightly stronger mortal, and there was really nothing to be proud of. After having this realization, he suddenly felt that he was no longer out of tune with this world, and he felt a little integrated into this world. It seemed that everything around him seemed clearer in his eyes, which made him feel very comfortable. He stayed in the tea house for several hours, drank several pots of spiritual tea, and heard a lot of useful news. The most important thing is that the news of the Xianshu ceremony has begun to circulate in the market. Judging from the feedback from many people today, there should be quite a few people who are willing to participate. It is estimated that by then, Hangshan Island will be really crowded. Chapter 593, $1 Million Asset. So he decided not to waste any more time and would continue his journey tomorrow. After paying the bill, Lin Changqing went to Lingbao Pavilion again and spent 20,000 low-grade spirit stones to buy 5,000 red yang dates, which can be regarded as a specialty here. Early the next morning, he checked out of the room, and then left from the east gate of Changyang Market, heading towards Hangshan Island. In this way, Lin Changqing spent half a year, passed through 7 or 8 markets, and even encountered several waves of robbery repairs on the way. But in the end, they all sent resources and spirit stones to Lin Changqing, but after flying for half a year, the whole person looked dusty. Fortunately, now he finally arrived at Hangshan Island. This place is different from the market he had seen before. Not only is the area of the entire Hangshan Island hundreds of times larger than other markets, but there are no ordinary mortals on the entire island. Because most of the island is occupied by the disciples of the Wandao sect, only a piece of edge is left, and a large city is built. This city is also a huge market town, and it is also a reserved window for Wanzhong Island. When Lin Changqing arrived, he saw the whole market town bustling with people. It was really lively. And many people, like him, came for the Xianshu ceremony, and now they were queuing at the gate of the city, ready to enter the market town. Lin Changqing did not dare to act rashly, and like others, he lined up at the end of the line. At this time, he had time to look at the surrounding environment and found that the city wall was still quite majestic. On the city gate in front of the team, there were 5 big characters Hangshan City West Gate, which looked magnificent and majestic, and there was a feeling of sharpness about to burst out. He felt that these words should contain a very sharp sword meaning. Unfortunately, he did not practice swordsmanship, and he could not understand the sword meaning in it, so he simply gave up. After queuing for nearly half an hour, it was finally Lin Changqing's turn, considering that he would join the Xianshu sect this time. So he still revealed his true identity and used his real name to apply for an entry and exit certificate. He knew that at this time, the hotel would definitely not rent a room to him, so he simply didn't go there to waste time. According to previous experience, he directly looked for those courtyards that were rented out in Hangshan City. Fortunately, his luck was still good. After only searching for 2 or 3 hours, he found a suitable courtyard, but the price offered by the landlord was really expensive. It cost 1,000 low-grade spirit stones every month, but Lin Changqing knew that it would definitely be more expensive in the future, so he rented it without hesitation. This small courtyard is not big, it is equivalent to a courtyard with 1 entrance, about 1 acre and 3 fen of land. However, after Lin Changqing rented it, he directly opened the restriction of the small courtyard, and then fell into the room and slept soundly. After rushing for more than half a year, he was very tired physically and mentally. Now he can finally have a good rest. 2 days later, Lin Changqing finally left the small courtyard. This time he finally recovered, refreshed and full of blood. After putting on the only remaining hidden spirit mask, he prepared to take a good stroll around the Hangshan market and see if he could find out some news about the Xianshu ceremony. After leaving the yard, he found that there were quite a few cultivators on the street, so he strolled along the main road. Seeing that there were many shops of considerable size on the street, he suddenly remembered that there were still many spiritual tools in his storage bag, so he simply went in and disposed of all the extra spiritual tools in his hand. He divided them into 7 or 8 shops and disposed of them all, including the spiritual tools contributed by those robber cultivators he met on the road. A total of more than 100 spiritual tools of various levels, including several spiritual boats that were damaged by his Zhengjing Divine Thunder, were all disposed of together. He sold more than 600,000 spiritual stones, and half of them were exchanged by Lin Changqing for medium-grade spiritual stones. Together with the previous part, he now has more than 1 million spiritual stones in his hand, which can support him for a while. Now he doesn't want to think about other things. At this time, his first goal is to join the Xianshu sect. After all, it's good to take shelter under a big tree. However, on the way here this time, he successfully opened 2 thunder acupoints. But he had looked for all the markets he passed along the way, and there was no thunder attribute spiritual weapon that satisfied him. I don't know if it was an illusion, but Lin Changqing felt that there were very few thunder attribute spiritual weapons or spiritual materials in this world. Anyway, he rarely encountered them. The thunder attribute spiritual weapons he saw along the way were too ordinary and could not enter his eyes at all. So now, the suppression objects in the 2 newly opened thunder acupoints are still first-class top-grade thunder spirit pearls. Therefore, he planned to go to the headquarters of Lingbao Pavilion to see if he could find a suitable thunder attribute spiritual weapon. After all, in this area, Wandao sect is the largest force, and it should have some foundation. Lin Changqing felt that it was most likely that he would find a spiritual weapon that satisfied him there, so he stepped into the door of Lingbao Pavilion again. He did not hide his cultivation, so soon a shop assistant came to greet him. He greeted her and said, "Welcome to Lingbao Pavilion. What do you need?" Lin Changqing said directly, "I want to buy 2 suitable high-quality spiritual tools. Do you have any of them?" When the shop assistant heard that he was here to buy spiritual tools, he thought that he had a lot of sales, so he immediately said with a smile, "Yes, yes. We at Lingbao Pavilion have prepared sufficient supply this time, and we guarantee that you will find a satisfactory spiritual tool. Please go upstairs to have tea, and I will introduce it to you in detail. I guarantee that you will not be disappointed." So the shop assistant led Lin Changqing to a small package on the 3rd floor, and waited for the maid to serve the spiritual tea. The shop assistant asked again, "Senior, what kind of spiritual weapon do you want to buy? Tell me and I will help you find it." Lin Changqing nodded, and then said directly, "I want a few better spiritual weapons with thunder attributes. It is best to have spiritual weapons of the 2nd grade or above, whether they are offensive or defensive spiritual weapons. You can try to find more. As long as the spiritual weapon is suitable, I will buy it." When the shop assistant heard this request, the expression on his face paused. After all, there really didn't have many spiritual weapons with thunder attributes. It seems that there are only 2 that meet Lin Changqing's requirements. However, he still said, "Then please wait a moment, Senior, I will get it for you to see." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, It means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 594 Unexpected News. Then the shop assistant said goodbye and left. After a long while, he came back with a tray. Then he said to Lin Changqing, Senior. Sorry to have kept you waiting for so long. I looked around and found that there are only 2 items in the pavilion that can meet your requirements. I brought them all here. Please take a look first. After that, he took out one of the spiritual tools and handed it directly to Lin Changqing. Lin Changqing nodded. When he took it in his hand, he saw that it was a small seal with a pale yellow spiritual light. The whole seal was only the size of a red yang date. He turned over the bottom and took a look. There were 3 big characters Angry Thunder Seal engraved on it. At this time, the shop assistant introduced, Senior, this is the 2nd level top grade spiritual weapon, the Thunder Seal, which is a spiritual weapon with dual attributes of earth and thunder. It was refined by a 3rd level weapon refiner from the inner sect of the Wandao sect, and the quality is guaranteed to be top notch. It can be regarded as a fine spiritual weapon. Senior, do you like it? But this spiritual weapon also has a disadvantage, that is, the price is a bit more expensive, requiring 15,000 low-grade spiritual stones. I wonder if you can accept it. To be honest, Lin Changqing really likes this spiritual weapon. It feels very good in his hand, and it can also be regarded as a spiritual weapon for offense and defense. But the price is really expensive, more than twice as expensive as ordinary spiritual weapons. So he did not express his opinion immediately, but said lightly, let's talk about this spiritual weapon later. You continue to introduce the next spiritual weapon. The shop assistant had no choice. He couldn't grasp what Lin Changqing meant now, so he could only take out another spiritual weapon and show it to him. He introduced, Senior. This is a very rare thunder attribute defensive spiritual weapon, a 2nd grade top grade spiritual weapon, the 5 elements thunder umbrella. It was also refined by the Sex Weapon Master, and the quality is absolutely guaranteed. This Thunder Umbrella spiritual weapon is specifically used to defend against thunder attribute attacks, and its ability to defend against the 5 elements thunder is even more significant. But its price is also more expensive. It requires 35,000 low-grade spiritual stones to buy it. I wonder if the senior likes it. Lin Changqing was playing with the exquisite colorful umbrella in his hand. To be honest, he was a little surprised when he heard the price introduced by the shop assistant. This price could already buy an ordinary 3rd grade magic weapon. It was really not cheap. But it was the first time he encountered this kind of spiritual weapon that professionally restrained the 5 elements thunder, so he decided to get this spiritual weapon no matter what. So he said, I can buy both of these spiritual tools, but the price is too expensive. Especially the last one, the price you offer is enough to buy a 3rd level magic weapon. So why don't you go over and ask your shopkeeper to lower the price? The shop assistant knew this would happen when he heard it, and said with embarrassment, Senior. When I got these 2 spiritual tools just now, I learned about them in advance, and because of the price, I had already asked the shopkeeper, otherwise, I wouldn't have let you wait so long. But the shopkeeper didn't agree to lower the price and insisted on this price. What do you think? Lin Changqing suspected the shop assistant, wondering if he was fooling him. But he also had his own way to deal with it, so he took the 2 spiritual tools in his hands and played with them again. He didn't show any hesitation, as if he wanted to choose one of the 2. When the shop assistant saw this situation, he quickly said, Senior. From your appearance, you should also come to participate in the Xianshu ceremony. Lin Changqing's heart moved. Could it be that this shop assistant had some inside information that he wanted to reveal to him? So he asked directly, what do you mean by asking this? Is there any news about the Xianshu ceremony? The shop assistant smiled and said, I mean, if the senior buys both of these spiritual weapons, I will give you a piece of news myself, but this news cannot be guaranteed to be accurate. Because I also heard it from hearsay some time ago, and it may not be accurate. But I believe that after you listen to it, you will definitely feel that it is worth the money. After speaking, the shop assistant looked at Lin Changqing confidently. Seeing his look, Lin Changqing had nothing to hesitate about. Anyway, he had decided in his heart that he would take down both spiritual weapons. So he nodded and said, okay. I will believe you once. I want both of these spiritual weapons." After speaking, he directly poured out 50,000 low-grade spiritual stones in the storage bag, and then the shop assistant received them. After he put away the 2 thunder attribute spiritual tools, Lin Changqing didn't need to urge him. The shop assistant said, "I heard that there are too many monks participating in the Xianshu ceremony this time. And by chance, there is a secret realm to be opened. In addition to the monks who meet the spiritual root conditions and can directly join the Xianshu sect, someone in Wandao sect suggested that the previous method of winning the battle on the platform should be changed to entering the secret realm and obtaining the designated spiritual objects. But I don't know the specific content, and I don't know whether this method will be adopted in the end. So there is no way to guarantee that this news must be correct, so please don't spread it out first." Lin Changqing listened, nodded directly, and agreed. Only a fool would tell others, and he wished that no one knew. If he was a senior of Wandao sect, he would consider making reasonable use of so many monks in this situation. So as not to break into the secret realm, he would also consume his own disciples. But now I don't know what type of secret realm this is, and whether it will be too dangerous. You know, he doesn't have Lin Changqing to help him now. If it's too dangerous, he might even die in the secret realm. After saying goodbye to the shop assistant, Lin Changqing left Lingbao Pavilion alone. It was still early, and he couldn't go back immediately. So he decided to find a tea house to sit and see if he could get any useful information in the market. He wandered around aimlessly for a long time before he saw a tea house. There were quite a few people in it, so he went over. After ordering a pot of spiritual tea, he found an inconspicuous place and tasted it slowly. In fact, he had pricked up his ears and listened carefully, but what everyone was talking about was not what he wanted to know. Fortunately, he just took a break from his busy schedule and didn't expect to gain anything every time. He sat there for more than 2 hours and heard a lot of news. But at this time, it was already dark, so he checked out and left. Chapter 595, Thunder Mysterious Realm. Lin Changqing returned to the courtyard where he rented a house. He immediately used the treasure-receiving secret technique to refine the 2 thunder-attributed spiritual tools he had obtained today. Then he sent them to the newly opened Thunder Acupoint and replaced the 2 first-level Thunder Spirit Pearls. Then he tried to activate the 5 elements Thunder Umbrella and found that this spiritual tool floated directly above his head and automatically activated a layer of colorful light shield. Lin Changqing was completely enveloped in it. It was inconvenient in the market now. He actually wanted to try the defensive ability of this 5 elements Thunder Umbrella. You must know that when you advance to the Purple Mansion period, you also need to pass the Thunder Tribulation. Normally, he should pass the 19th Thunder Tribulation. But after all, he is not a cultivator in this world, and he has a slightly wonderful feeling. It is that when he passes the Thunder Tribulation, it should not be so simple. It is estimated that there should be punishment on his head. In that case, he will definitely not pass the 19th Thunder Tribulation. It may become the 29th Thunder Tribulation, or even the 39th Thunder Tribulation of the Golden Core period. If he really encounters the 39th Thunder Tribulation, even if he is a thunder cultivator and his thunder resistance is stronger than others, he will most likely not be able to survive it. So from now on, he must consciously collect these things that can help him survive the tribulation. Therefore, this is another reason why he must join the sect. After all, the sect has a deep foundation. It is convenient for him to collect these things, and most importantly, there is a tribulation platform in the sect that is specially used for surviving the tribulation. There are corresponding magic arrays there that can effectively weaken the power of the Thunder Tribulation and increase his chances of surviving the Thunder Tribulation, so he must enter the Xianshu sect, and not only that, he has now opened up 100 Thunder Acupoints in his body. If he opens up 8 more Acupoints, he will have reached the limit of the foundation building period. He doesn't know what will happen, and he doesn't know if it will trigger an advanced Thunder Tribulation, so this is also a big problem. At the rate of opening up a Thunder Acupoint every 6 months, he will reach the limit in about 4 years. If he directly advances to the 3rd level at that time, it will be fine, but if he directly triggers a Thunder Tribulation, then it will be a headache. However, he really has no way out now, so he can only take one step at a time. But regarding the secret realm, Lin Changqing suddenly thought of a way last night. So he went out in a hurry early the next morning. He searched the streets for the sign of Tingfang Pavilion. Fortunately, after asking the clerk of the street shop for directions, he successfully found Tingfang Pavilion. The storefront of this Tingfang pavilion was much bigger than the ones he had seen before. Lin Changqing walked in without any hesitation. As before, as soon as he entered, someone sent him a message. Tell him to go to the left to buy news and to the right to sell news. Fortunately, he had experienced it once and was experienced. So he walked into the left passage and found that there was a whole row of almost 40 or 50 rooms, and the doors of many rooms were closed. It seems that the business here is not bad. He found a room with an open door and walked in directly. After the door was closed, the person inside said, "Please sit down, fellow Taoist. What kind of information do you want to buy?" Lin Changqing had already thought about it, so he said directly, "What I want to know is, in the next 5 months to 6 months, what secret realm will be open nearby? And I want the information of this secret realm, the more specific the better." The man was a little surprised to hear Lin Changqing's request, but still said, "I need to check this, fellow Taoist, please wait a moment." Lin Changqing agreed, then closed his eyes and began to wait patiently. After a while, the voice rang again. "Sorry. I kept you waiting for a long time. I have found the information you want. In the next 5 months to 6 months, there will be only one secret realm open nearby. If you want to know the specific information of this secret realm, fellow Taoist needs to pay 5,000 low-grade spirit stones." Lin Changqing heard that the price was acceptable, so he agreed. Then without hesitation, he poured 5,000 spirit stones onto the table next to him. When the tabletop descended to take the spirit stones away, when it came back, there was an extra white jade slip on the tabletop. After Lin Changqing received the jade slip, he stood up and left directly. Originally, he had another piece of information about the second-level middle-grade spiritual vein near Hongyang Island, which he wanted to sell to Tingfang Pavilion. But now he really wanted to know the contents of the jade slip. Anyway, there were still several months left, so he might as well wait until next time. After returning to his own courtyard, Lin Changqing read the contents of the jade slip for the first time. Only then did he know that this secret realm that was about to be open was called the Thunder Extreme Secret Realm, which would only be open once every 3 jiaozi. Each opening time was about 3 months, but it was very dangerous for the foundation building cultivators. The area of the Thunder Extreme Secret Realm was very large, and there were many second and third level monsters in it. And many monsters were of the Thunder system. In this case, ordinary foundation building cultivators would not be able to wait until the secret realm ended after 3 months, and they would die in it. However, this Thunder Extreme Secret Realm produced a third-level top-grade Thunder Extreme fruit. This thing was the reason why the Thunder Extreme Secret Realm was famous. This Thunder fruit has 2 functions. The first function is that after taking it, the body of the cultivator or ordinary cultivator can be greatly strengthened. This function is the most important for a physical cultivators. And it can also make physical cultivators advance by leaps and bounds in a short period of time. Even this thunder fruit can be used as a spiritual medicine for physical cultivators to break through the realm. In short, for physical cultivators, this thunder fruit is equivalent to the function of Zifu Tuangsun pill or Jijin pill. The second function is that after any cultivator takes this thunder fruit, the body will increase the thunder attribute resistance by about 1 time within a certain period of time. This function is powerful, so that it can greatly enhance the thunder attribute resistance of those cultivators who are about to cross the tribulation, greatly increasing their chances of passing the thunder tribulation. Seeing this, Lin Changqing has already guessed it. If they really let them enter this secret realm to look for spiritual objects, it is very likely that they are looking for this third-level top-grade thunder fruit. But in the jade slip given by Tingfang Pavilion, it is mentioned that there are many second and third-level monsters in the thunder secret realm. Normally, if the Wandao sect wants to train its disciples, it should mainly send Purple Mansion monks to enter and participate in the trial. Chapter 596, Persuading to Leave. It is not good to have a high or low cultivation level. If it is too high, there will be no effect, and if it is too low, it is too dangerous. Therefore, sending the Purple Mansion monks to enter is the most appropriate choice. But if the high-level officials of the Wandao sect are really replaced by these, and the monks who come to participate in the Xianshu ceremony enter the secret realm, it is estimated that a lot of people will die. I just don't know if the high-level officials of the Wandao sect can bear this result, or they have other ways to avoid large-scale deaths of monks entering the secret realm, which is another matter. However, for Lin Changqing, this secret realm is worth a try. After all, He is half a thunder cultivator and half a body cultivator. The thunder extreme fruit insight is very important for his body cultivation and future tribulation. So Lin Changqing can't give up. He must go on this trip. Such an important matter cannot allow him to retreat. Fortunately, he still has a trump card, the Great Five Elements Return to Void technique, and so many purple crystal scorpions. As long as his luck is not too bad and he does not encounter multiple third-level beasts at one time, he is still confident that he can get through this secret realm of thunder. In this way, Lin Changqing settled down on this Hangshan island. He studied hard and practiced diligently, and occasionally he would go to the tea house to sit for a while, and by the way, he would inquire about the latest news. Of course, he would go there when he was free, and stroll around the street stalls here, but he did not encounter anything that caught his eye after several visits. There was not much gain every time, and Lin Changqing rarely went there later. However, he had sold the news that there was a second-level middle-grade spiritual vein near Hongjiang Island to Tingfang Pavilion. And the harvest was not bad, and he had 30,000 low-grade spiritual stones in his hands. In this way, time passed quickly, and more than 5 months passed in a blink of an eye. The 5th-level spiritual vein of Hangshan Island is different. It is indeed the best holy place for cultivation in this area. Although it has been protected and filtered by layers of formations, when the spiritual energy reaches the market where Lin Changqing is, it only has the effect of a 3rd-level low-grade spiritual vein. But this is already very good. Apart from the Lin family's ancestral land, he has not stayed in that spiritual land for such a long time. Therefore, during this period, his fundamental law, the 5 Elements Chaos Sutra, has also made some progress. With the dual blessing of Zhuguo wine and the 3rd-level spiritual veins, it is estimated that in another year, he can almost break through to the 6th level of foundation building, but all this Zhuguo wine has been basically consumed by him. Now he only has more than 100-year-old Zhuguo in his hand. This thing can only support him for about another year at best. In terms of the Thunder Sutra, the progress is very stable. The 101st Thunder Acupoint will be successfully opened in about half a month. Unfortunately, there is no time now for him to continue to practice with peace of mind, because since yesterday, the Wandao sect has already spread the news. Let all the cultivators who are interested in participating in the Xianshu ceremony gather at the central square of the market in 3 days. That is the location of the original stall square. Now there are already many rumors in the market that this time the ring is not used to decide the winner. But no one knows the specific arrangements. It should be that the top leaders of Wandao sect have issued a gag order, so there has been no news. However, there are only 3 days left. By then, the arrangement of Wandao will naturally be revealed. After considering it, Lin Changqing decided to rent this small courtyard only until the end of this month and not renew the lease. He believed that he would definitely be able to get a place to join Xianshu sect. At that time, he should set off directly to Xianshu sect, so there is no need to rent it again. These days, he deliberately checked for deficiencies and found that he was still missing 2 portable magic arrays. After all, the previous ones were either left in the inner space or lost in the storage bag. So he took the time to go to Lingbao Pavilion and spent 35,000 spirit stones to buy 2 2nd-level top-grade magic arrays. They are the Lianga Enaxi array and the Sankei Trapped Killing array. In this way, everything is ready. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Early in the morning of this day, after Lin Changqing packed up all his things, he walked to the gathering place. He found that a large group of people had gathered in the middle of the square. It was estimated that there were at least 4,000 or 5,000 monks. And there were many monks like him who were gathering from all directions. He didn't know how many people would participate in the end. Lin Changqing found a position as close to the front as possible, stayed there honestly, and pricked up his ears to listen carefully, wanting to hear if there was any news he wanted. However, there were too many people, and the voices were very noisy. After listening for a long time, he didn't hear any definite news. After 2 hours, there were almost 20,000 to 30,000 monks on the scene. At this time, suddenly a high-level monk's consciousness swept through all the monks in the scene unscrupulously. Everyone seemed to be fixed by a spell, and the scene suddenly became silent. Because everyone knew that it must be a high-level monk who had arrived, no one dared to act rashly at this time. Then a middle-aged figure appeared in the air in the square and said calmly, "Time is up. All disciples, close all the roads leading to here. Those who don't come here are considered to have given up. If anyone disobeys and dares to cause trouble, They can be captured or killed on the spot. Yes. Follow the order of the ancestor. Many voices of response came from around the square. I think these people who answered should be the disciples of Wandao sect who maintain order. He saw it when he came here just now, but he didn't care. The middle-aged monk floating in the middle glanced at everyone below again, and then continued to speak. I am the foreign affairs elder of Wandao sect, Zhao Huangyan. You are all monks who want to participate in the Xianshu ceremony, but this time is different from the past. In addition to the monks who directly meet the conditions of Xianshu sect, they can directly participate in the Xianshu ceremony. The previous method of winning the arena has been changed to treasure hunting in the secret realm, and the secret realm to be entered this time is called the Thunder Extreme Secret Realm. There are many second and third level monsters in it. It was originally a secret realm for the disciples of the Purple Mansion period of our sect to practice. This time, you can enter it. As soon as Zhao Hongyan finished speaking, the whole square was boiling. This time, the suppression of the high-level monks was useless. Although no one dared to show up, there was a whispering voice below, all of which were discussing whether they could come out of the secret realm alive. Zhao Hongyan did not interrupt them and let them discuss. About a quarter of an hour later, he used the consciousness of the nascent soul monk again to suppress the whole audience. Chapter 597 Promise. Then Zhao Hongyan continued, that's right. With your cultivation level, it is estimated that it will be difficult to touch Jili Mountain, and you will die on the way. Not to mention that you have to stay in there for 3 months, which is an even more difficult task. And this time, there are only 10 places at most in the Wandao domain to go to Xianshu sect and participate in the Xianshu ceremony. So you have to think carefully about whether you can stand out among so many cultivators and get a place to join Xianzong. After Zhao Hongyan finished speaking this time, the audience was quiet instead. Many people carefully weighed in their hearts whether they should go to this high-level secret realm. However, after careful consideration, most people retreated. After all, for such a slim opportunity, most people don't have the courage to risk their lives. Zhao Hongyan didn't urge them, he just wanted them to think clearly. He also had a hidden task, which was to try to persuade them to retreat. After all, Wandao sect didn't want so many people to die in the secret realm. By the way, he could also conduct the first screening of these cultivators. Those with weak minds were not worthy of joining his sect. After waiting for about a quarter of an hour, Zhao Hongyan spoke again. The treasure we are looking for this time is called Thunder Fruit, which is a third-level top-grade spiritual fruit. Because it needs to be irrigated by thunder and lightning to grow, it mainly grows on the top of Jili Mountain and is guarded by the third-level monster, Three-Eyed Thunder Ape Clan. There are only 3 thunder fruit trees in the entire Jili Mountain, so the requirement this time is to collect 3 mature thunder fruits. And persist for 3 months, until you are automatically excluded by the secret realm. You will get a place to join the Xianshu sect. In the past, the Purple Mansion disciples of the sect had a loss rate of about 30% when entering this secret realm trial. Not to mention you, ordinary foundation building cultivators, basically have a life and death risk when entering. So I give you one last chance. The cultivators who don't want to participate in this trial can return now. And those who want to participate can just stay where they are. But it is stated in advance that after entering the secret realm, your life and death are at your own risk. Even if you die, it has nothing to do with the Wandao sect. Now I will give you a quarter of an hour to think about it. After the time is up, I will assume that you want to participate in the trial. After Zhao Hongyan finished speaking, he ignored the people below and let them decide their own fate. At this time, everyone below was boiling again. They didn't expect that this would be the result this time. However, most of the cultivators were still able to face the reality, so they left the central square disappointedly. After a quarter of an hour, there were only about 3,000 people left in the square. And 3,000 cultivators are competing for 10 places to join the Xianshu sect. You can imagine how intense the process will be. And the cultivators who dare to stay must be very confident in their own strength, and at least they should be quite capable. In other words, this group of people is the most elite in the world of scattered cultivators in the Wandao domain. I just don't know how many people will be left alive in the end. Zhao Hongyan looked at the remaining 3,000 monks, nodded and said, that's right. You who can stay are all courageous monks. Those who dare to fight for that chance of success can go further on the road of cultivating immortals. So I make a promise to you. As long as you come out of the Thunder Extreme Secret Realm alive, You can join the Wandao sect even if you don't get the Thunder Extreme fruit. If you can get a mature Thunder Extreme fruit, you can directly enter the inner gate of the Wandao sect. If you can get 2 mature Thunder Extreme fruits, the sect will arrange a giant and monk to accept you as a disciple. So you all have to work hard, and I hope you can all come out of the secret realm alive. Now everyone board the treasure ship. After saying that, he waved his hand, and a fist-sized blue treasure ship in the air quickly grew larger. When it landed on the square, it had become a huge treasure ship that was almost 300 feet long and 80 feet wide. And there were 5 floors on the deck of the treasure ship. It seemed that it was more than enough to accommodate 10,000 or 20,000 monks. But now is not the time to think about this. Lin Changqing hurriedly followed the flow of people and successfully boarded the treasure ship. However, Zhao Hongjin did not speak to allow them to enter the attic, so no one dared to go around and everyone stayed on the deck. At this time, the treasure ship had already started to move and flew directly out of the market. Lin Changqing knew that the secret realm should not be too far from here, so he simply found a relatively corner place to sit down and rest. However, not long after he sat down, a middle-aged cultivator in the late stage of the building period, about 40 or 50 years old, came over to talk to him. "Excuse me, fellow Taoist. I didn't expect that you, who looks so young, have already reached the middle stage of foundation building. And you dare to enter such a dangerous secret realm. I think you are very confident in your own strength. But there are only 10 places to join Xianshu sect this time. I think the competition here will be very fierce. So I don't know if you are interested in forming an alliance with me. We can support each other and increase the chances of success. In the worst case, we can also help each other and try to leave the secret realm alive and join Wandao sect. What do you think?" This middle-aged cultivator said very well, but Lin Changqing estimated that he just wanted to find a cannon fodder who was not as good as him and could be controlled. Moreover, Lin Changqing himself was really powerful and had no intention of forming an alliance with others, so he shook his head and refused directly. Seeing that his attitude was so firm, the middle-aged cultivator did not waste too much time on him. Immediately seized the time to find other alliance partners. Later, 2 or 3 groups of people came over and wanted to invite Lin Changqing to form an alliance, but he rejected them all. With a purple crystal scorpion and the shocking god cicada, he didn't need ordinary allies. Soon, the pattern on the deck became clear, and several allied monks stayed together. There were only 2 or 3 monks in a small number, and there were even more than 10 in a large number. After all, in such a dangerous secret realm, everyone has the mentality of resisting together. Being able to stay with your allies is more secure, so forming an alliance is still the choice of most people. Of course, there are some, like Lin Changqing, who are all alone, but after all, such people are a minority. Chapter 598, A Bad Start. However, Lin Changqing felt that those who formed an alliance were too optimistic. Based on his experience of entering so many secret realms, it is very likely that when passing through the space channel, people will be randomly thrown out, and it is unknown where they will land. Not to mention this kind of temporary alliance, it is probably lucky to meet each other. Unless there is a special treasure that can closely connect the two sides, otherwise it is very likely that it will be a waste of effort. So Lin Changqing felt that they were too happy too early. Just like this, they left Hangshan Island and flew at high speed on the sea for more than 2 hours. The treasure ship finally began to slow down and land on the sea. When the treasure ship was about to approach the sea surface, a huge crack suddenly cracked below, and then the treasure ship flew in. At this time, everyone on the deck saw that this was an island covered by a high-level formation. From the outside, it looks like a very ordinary sea area. No one would have thought that the Leiji secret realm is here. However, the area of the island is not too large. Looking down from the treasure ship, it is almost equivalent to the size of 2 Jinsu islands. After the ship completely landed, the protective barrier on the ship disappeared. Without being told, everyone left the treasure ship very consciously. At this time, they saw a circle of people below, and several of them were maintaining a huge magic array. Although Lin Changqing was not a magic array master, he guessed that this should be attraction magic array used to pull the secret realm. After Zhao Hongjin took back the treasure ship, he told the magic array masters, "It's almost time. You open the passage to the secret realm." The magic array masters responded and began to operate. Soon, they saw that a small black dot began to appear above the huge magic array. Then, under the power of the magic array, The small black dot gradually expanded and slowly formed a constantly rotating passage. It was not until the passage expanded to about 3 feet in radius that it gradually stabilized. Zhao Hongyan glanced at it and confirmed that there was no problem. Then he said to Lin Changqing and his group, "The Thunder Extreme Secret Realm has been opened. If you don't enter now, when will you enter?" Hearing what he said, everyone immediately rushed into the passage. In this situation, Lin Changqing was the first to do it. As soon as Zhao Hongyan finished speaking, he rushed over. He was one of the first people to enter the secret realm. After a violent spinning, Lin Changqing was randomly thrown into the secret realm. Fortunately, he was very experienced. Although he was in a dizzy state, he quickly activated 2 defensive spiritual tools. He endured the discomfort and released Chu-ai from the spiritual beast bracelet first. Fortunately, he was completely adapted to it in a short while, but at this time, trouble also came, mainly because Chu-ai was attacked. Lin Changqing heard the thunder and immediately knew that the one who attacked Chu-ai must be a flying monster with thunder attributes. So as soon as he received Chu-ai's call for help, he immediately asked it to come and join him. Lin Changqing also activated the thunder escape technique of Fenglai wings and rushed to save it desperately. Because he knew that Chu-ai was definitely not the opponent of this kind of monster. He himself was a thunder cultivator and knew how fast the thunder method was. As long as it was within the range of the attack, it was basically difficult to avoid it, and he could only bear it. However, Lin Changqing arrived too late. He had already seen Chu-ai falling from the sky, and immediately rushed over regardless of everything. Finally, he put it into the spirit beast bracelet before it fell to the ground, but he did not have time to check Chu-ai's injuries. Because a blackbird with a second-order great perfection cultivation in the distance had already rushed towards him, and immediately fired a Renshu divine thunder at Lin Changqing. Fortunately, he was already prepared and immediately activated the thunder shield and the 5 elements of the thunder umbrella. Boom! This divine thunder directly blasted Lin Changqing back 7 or 8 feet in the air. Fortunately, this Renshu divine thunder only broke the transparent light cover on the 5 elements of the thunder umbrella. However, Lin Changqing was not a person who would just take a beating and not fight back. He flipped his hand and the thunder horn appeared in his hand. Then his spiritual consciousness locked, and 3 Zhengjin divine thunders were immediately shut out. Boom, boom, boom. Immediately, a lot of blood and black feathers flew in the air, and then the big black bird, like Chu-ai, fell directly. Bang! It landed a few hundred feet away from Lin Changqing, but at this time, he couldn't care so much. He immediately released Chu-ai and immediately saw a huge wound on its back, which was about the size of 2 or 3 palms. And near the wound, there were many muscles burned by lightning. Fortunately, the Renshu divine thunder was not known for its sharpness, so it did not cause lacerations and heavy bleeding. But when Lin Changqing saw this injury, his face turned ashen. Now he was heartbroken. If he wanted to treat such a wound, he had to clean up the necrotic muscles around the wound. But Chu-ai was too seriously injured, and he had fallen into coma at this time. He didn't know if Chu-ai could hold on. But at this time, he didn't dare to delay any longer, and first stuffed 2 rejuvenation pills into Chu-ai's mouth. He began to quickly arrange the Liangai Naxi array with Chu-ai as the center, and immediately activated the array. Then Lin Changqing started to carefully clean Chu-ai's wounds. It took more than half an hour to finish the treatment. However, Chu-ai was too seriously injured, but Lin Changqing had done what he should do. Now he could only send it back to the spirit beast bracelet to rest. The rest depends on it. I don't know if it can survive this time. It looks dead. If it weren't for the contract between them, he would have suspected that Chu-ai had fallen. This secret realm is too dangerous. As soon as he came in, he gave Lin Changqing a blow. It seems that he still needs to be more careful. Suddenly he remembered that he still had a trophy that he hadn't dealt with, so he quickly left the array and flew to the place where the blackbird fell. Fortunately, although it took some time, no other monsters or monks came to take advantage. It just fell from a high altitude, and all its blood had been drained. After putting the body of the big blackbird into the storage bag, Lin Changqing returned to the magic circle and compared it with a jade slip he bought from Tingfang Pavilion. Lin Changqing knew that this blackbird was called a black-feathered black thunderbird, and it could grow to the 3rd stage at most. However, the most useful thing about this black thunderbird was its demon pale and feathers. Chapter 599 Jedi Counterattack. After figuring it out, Lin Changqing immediately took action and took down all the useful materials. The remaining skeletons and monster meat were not wasted. They were also left as food for his spirit insects and spirit pets. After dealing with these, he put away the magic circle. This time he didn't dare to let Chu'er out again, because its strength was a little bit worse than Chu Yi. If he encountered another black-feathered black thunderbird and was hit by a Renshu divine thunder, he would probably die immediately. So this time he could only rely on himself. Now the first task is to confirm his approximate location. In this way, Lin Changqing knew which direction to go. Otherwise, the secret realm is so big, how long will it take to find Jilei Mountain? Fortunately, the black-feathered black thunderbird should be nearby. Lin Changqing flew for more than 20 miles and didn't encounter any decent monsters. However, he didn't see the monster, but he saw a cultivator, and that person also saw Lin Changqing. He flew towards him immediately, and Lin Changqing immediately activated 2 defensive spiritual tools and summoned the thunder horn. Fortunately, the man stopped moving at an appropriate distance and said to Lin Changqing, "I'm sorry to bother you, fellow Taoist. I have no ill intentions. I just want to come here to form an alliance with you and help each other survive. I don't have any other intentions." Lin Changqing shook his head and said, "I'm sorry, we are not familiar with each other, and I have no intention of forming an alliance with others." The man had no choice but to take a step back, so he said again, "Then let's exchange information with each other." Lin Changqing had no objection to this proposal, so he nodded and agreed. The man also knew that Lin Changqing was waiting for him to speak first, so he didn't waste time and said directly, "I came from the left-hand side, more than 50 miles away, and encountered more than a dozen second-level fire monkeys. If I hadn't flown faster, I would have been killed there, so if it's not necessary, I suggest that you don't go in that direction." Lin Changqing nodded and said, 20 miles behind me, there is a second-level black-feathered black thunderbird. Its Renshu divine thunder is very powerful. One of my spirit pets was hit and almost died. Whether to go there or not, you can decide for yourself." After listening to Lin Changqing's words, the man nodded and bowed, then teased and left. Lin Changqing didn't continue to fly in the original direction until he couldn't see his figure. In fact, he had already taken a great advantage. At least most of the cultivators were confused by the Wandao sect, but Lin Changqing was ready early. There was even a rough map of the Thunder Extreme secret realm in the jade slip provided by Tingfang Pavilion, which gave him a partial advantage. After flying for dozens of miles, after seeing a large bamboo forest, Lin Changqing knew where he was in the secret realm. Originally, according to his personality, if he encountered this thunder bamboo forest, he would definitely go in and take a look. There must be a lot of gains in it, but now he was in a hurry, so he gave up reluctantly. Besides, there is no inner space now. Even if he gets the bamboo seeds of thunder bamboo, there is no place to plant them. It is better to give up directly and rush to Jilei Mountain as soon as possible. See if he can get the thunder fruit first, which is the most practical. Fortunately, his luck is not bad. It just landed in the middle of the secret realm. It only takes about 10 days from here to Jilei Mountain. So he immediately turned around and headed towards the goal, but not long after flying, more than a dozen fire cones rushed out of the woods below. Lin Changqing immediately raised the altitude and narrowly avoided the attack of the fire cone. Just now, he was afraid of being attacked by monsters in the air, so he didn't fly too high. Unexpectedly, he almost got caught. With a sweep of his spiritual sense, he immediately found more than a dozen golden red monkeys on the tree. He understood immediately. It was estimated that these dozen monkeys were the fire monkeys that the cultivator had just mentioned. However, killing them would not do him any good. Lin Changqing did not want to waste time, so he followed the man and sped away immediately. The dozen monkeys below chased him for a distance. Later, he found that he could not catch up, so he gave up. After this lesson, he slightly raised the altitude of his flight. He kept it about 500 feet above the ground, which made it much smoother. He basically did not encounter any more attacks from the ground. However, he might have a conflict with a black-feathered black thunderbird. After flying for more than 2 hours, he encountered another black thunderbird. And this one was even more powerful. It fired a Renshu divine thunder at him about 3 miles away from Lin Changqing. Boom! Without any warning, a Renshu divine thunder suddenly hit Lin Changqing's head. It directly broke through his 3 layers of defense. If it were not for this divine thunder, it would have been weakened by multiple defensive spiritual tools. When it reached him, the power was almost gone, and he was a thunder cultivator, so he was quite resistant to thunder. He finally managed to resist, otherwise he would have been finished. But even so, he almost lost control at an altitude of 500 feet. After reacting, he tried to control the flying sword and landed crookedly into the woods. At this time, Lin Changqing didn't dare to fly in the sky. The attack range of this black-feathered black thunderbird was so far that it was obviously a third-level monster. Now Lin Changqing could only use the cover of the woods, covered with a magic weapon light sand, and try to hide his figure so that it would not discover him, or hope that it would get closer. It's best to enter his attack range, so that Lin Changqing can give it a hard blow. Otherwise, he can only stare blankly. Fortunately, this dead bird, in order to find the figure of him as its prey, really came over. Lin Changqing sent it back 3 Jiangjing divine thunders at the extreme distance of more than 400 feet. Boom, 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 3 blood mists burst out in succession in the sky, and many black feathers flew everywhere. Then Lin Changqing heard a bird's mournful cry. The third-level black-feathered black thunderbird fell directly from the sky. Although he saw it fall, Lin Changqing didn't dare to go over now. He had just survived a near-death experience, so he didn't dare to be careless this time. In addition, the height of the fall was not high, and the black thunderbird could still make mournful cries. So Lin Changqing estimated that it might not be dead yet, so he naturally didn't dare to come over now. But he guessed that even if it wasn't dead yet, it should be almost dead. And it might be holding its last breath, waiting for Lin Changqing to go over and give it a hard blow. Lin Changqing knew the habits of these monsters, and they would definitely not be fooled easily. Therefore, he released all the purple crystal scorpions and let them deal with the dead bird. Chapter 600, the first level 3 demon pill. These little guys are small and fast. I believe that the dying black thunderbird should not be able to do anything to them. The 2 sides are about 400 feet apart. The purple crystal scorpion turned into purple light and flew over in an instant. As expected, the black thunderbird was not dead yet and was still waiting for him to get close, but it met the purple crystal scorpion. Lin Changqing soon heard it again, a sharp bird cry, and then there was no movement. This time he believed that this third-level black thunderbird must be dead, so he put away the magic weapon Qingsha on his body. Then he went to collect the spoils. The size of this black thunderbird was not small, almost twice the size of Chui. In addition, since it had just died, Lin Changqing collected 5 large pots of its blood in the first time, using the wine pot that originally contains Hugo wine. It was about 10 pounds. This rare thunder attribute monster blood was the most suitable choice for drawing thunder attribute talismans. It's a pity that I'm not a talisman maker. If I were still in Zuanayan continent, it would be great. I can save these rare thunder monster bloods for my mother. She will love this gift very much. It's a pity that I don't know whether I can return to Zuanayan continent again in my lifetime. He collected his messy thoughts and continued to hurry up to deal with the body of the black thunderbird. The feathers and demon pills on its body were also taken down by Lin Changqing first and packed in a suitable jade box. These are all precious third-level materials, and they are also the first third-level demon pills he got. And it is also thunder attribute, which is very meaningful, plus its own value is also very high. Even Lin Changqing can find a weapon refiner to refine them into 2 third-level magic weapons. In the end, including the skeleton and the monster meat, there was no waste, and he collected them all. These things can be used to feed his spirit insects and spirit pets. After all, they are all third-level things, which are also very good for them. After cleaning up the battlefield, it was almost dark, and Lin Changqing was no longer in a hurry. He found a hidden location nearby and set up the Lianga Inaxi formation as a place to camp tonight. After doing all this, he had time to check his inner vision. The Renshu Divine Thunder just now. Although it was weakened by the defensive spiritual tools, it still caused some damage to his body when it finally hit him. Fortunately, it was not too serious. He was busy fighting and fighting just now, and his mind was highly concentrated, so he didn't feel anything. Now that he relaxed, he felt a dull pain all over his body, and immediately took a second-level rejuvenation pill. He also practiced the exercises to help dissolve the drug power. After running for a week, he felt that the symptoms were much better. Fortunately, he was a physical cultivator, and his skin was relatively thick. This minor injury should be completely healed in 2 or 3 days. He carefully released Chui and examined it carefully, and found that the situation was better than before. Although it still didn't wake up, its injuries had stabilized, so Lin Changqing was relieved. All that was left was to let it recover slowly. Fortunately, the monster's vitality was quite strong, so it should be almost there in a few months. Every time this happened, he missed the Zuinun heavy water bottle and the Beihou Zuhen wine so much. If he had Zuhen wine in hand, Chu Ai would have recovered earlier, but it was a pity that all it was left in the inner space. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but check again. The light spot in the sea of consciousness was still so dim, and there was no change at all. However, he had long been accustomed to this situation during this period of time, and he didn't have much hope. Today, the purple crystal scorpion was considered to have made a contribution, so Lin Changqing specially made some third-level monster meat to reward them. Chu Er also had a share. Chu Ai was fed by Lin Changqing with a third-level monster meat, which he made into mincemeat, hoping that this would help its injuries. After doing all this, it suddenly occurred to him that he wondered if the monster's blood could be used to feed the Jingshan cicada. After all, they were both liquids full of spiritual power. Thinking of this, he immediately tried it, poured some fresh black thunderbird blood into a cup, and released a few Jingshan cicadas from the spirit beast bracelet. Unfortunately, they just circled around the cup, but had no intention of sucking it down. That's right. Jingshan cicadas eat by sucking through their mouth parts, and they really had no intention of eating. Lin Changqing got some juice from the red yang dates, and this time the Jingshan cicadas rushed over. He picked up the two liquids and observed and compared them carefully, and found that the juice should be a relatively clear spiritual liquid, so Jingshan cicadas like to eat it. Although the blood of the monster beast is also full of spiritual power, it feels turbid overall, so the Jingshan cicadas just circle around it, but don't eat it. After figuring it out, Lin Changqing still felt a little pity. It would be much more convenient if Jingshan cicadas could eat monster beast blood, but unfortunately they don't have the blood-sucking attribute. After tossing for a while, after feeding all the spirit insects and spirit beasts, he was ready to rest. I have been injured these days, and it is not suitable for me to practice the Thunder Sutra, so I might as well rest early to conserve my energy and get up early tomorrow to travel. Early the next morning, after he recovered the array plate of the Lianga Enaxi array, he set off. However, in order to get to Jilai Mountain earlier, he chose to fly at an altitude of about 500 feet. It was relatively smooth at the beginning, but after flying for more than an hour, he encountered two cultivators in the late stage of foundation building. Lin Changqing immediately stopped moving forward. This time, the two cultivators came aggressively, and they didn't look like they were here to request an alliance. And as soon as they saw Lin Changqing, they immediately separated and surrounded him from the left and right sides. The intention of this action was very obvious. It was clearly ill-intentioned, and they were afraid that he would run away. In this case, Lin Changqing would not be polite to them. With a thought in his mind, all the purple crystal scorpions flew out. And they also split into two groups, one on the left and one on the right, and then turned into purple light to meet them. The two monks were shot into sieves by the purple crystal scorpion before they came within 500 feet of Lin Changqing, and fell directly into the woods below. Lin Changqing first let the purple crystal scorpion go down and sweep the woods below to make sure there was no danger. Then he went down and collected the storage bags on the two unlucky guys and the spiritual tools that fell around. Then he used fireball magic to dispose of the bodies, letting them return to dust. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.